We're now just somewhere.
Okay, it's 6:30. We're going to go ahead and get started. Can we please rise for the pledge and remain standing for a moment of silence? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remain standing for our first responders and our military, please. Thank you. Okay, first is Mark Kephart. I'm sorry. Oh, yes, we had an executive session. It actually covered two subjects. One was the an update on the Riffin lawsuit, which we can tell you that he's appealed it again, so it's gone on. He actually has to get approval from the Supreme Court. So it's probably, the lawyer basically said, you know, it's going to be another year. It'll just keep dragging out. And the second part of it was a potential lawsuit involving the intergovernmental agreement with the police department. Okay, and tonight we have Mark Kephart. He is the auditor for New Freedom Borough, and I want to thank you for coming. And I'm going to kind of jump in if I may.
Sure.
I mean, everybody, I think, all the citizens, our number one issue tonight is the way our loan is shown in the audit, which creates a perception for, I think, all of this council and the citizens of New Freedom and our lender. And our lender. So it's my understanding that our loan should not be taken against current assets because current assets and the current fund balance will not be used to pay the loan. In other words, we're taking, well, I'll give you the borough manager's example. If we have a mortgage of $200,000 and our monthly payment's $1,000 a month, then the 12-month portion is $12,000. But we've taken the whole $200,000 loan and deducted it from our fund balance, leaving us with a negative fund balance. So you wouldn't deduct the whole $200,000 from your checkbook. You'd only deduct the $12,000 that you pay for the year. So, correct. I think in the opinion of everybody here, we don't really have a negative fund balance, and we're still paying paychecks and still paying our bills. So we want the. And I know you're independent, and I'm not trying to tread anywhere near on telling you that you shouldn't be independent, but we want the audit to reflect the reality that New Freedom is a strong municipality. We are so strong that in 21 we got a loan at 2%. So we're looked on very favorably by our lenders. So I guess my question in all of this is, how do we explain the shown deficit in fund equity, and what's the plan moving forward?
If you would look at the newest sheet I just gave everyone, it has the arrows pointing.
This sheet?
Yes, it have the arrows on the right side. The arrow at the top is, those are the construction costs that were incurred in 21 and 22 using the proceeds of the bond money or the note money up to this point. That's what those assets would be. For years and years, we have never shown assets as an asset on the balance sheet. We've always had that as expended. And I mean, if you go back for a long history, there has been deficit fund balances before. Some of them were even more, than it is now. That's just a history. To use an accounting term, we've always had the borough on a cash basis. What Andy and I discussed was making it like a modified cash basis. Long story short, we would put the assets on the balance sheet like they are on this balance sheet here where the arrow is pointed to it. Because you can see at the end of 22, that would give us a total fund balance for the borough of 1.2 million in a positive direction. And that's what we would like to proceed with going forward, starting in 23. As far as like what the bank would need, we could give them something like this, you know, whatever they would need to understand that the borough's position is strong, as you said. As, you know,
So you
previously
agree
stated.
with that statement? then?
Yes.
Just for all the citizens that are sitting here waiting?
Yes.
Okay, I understand. One thing, Shrewsbury Borough, their audit pulls out their Penvest loan, and they're basically the same as we are, but as you said, they run a modified cash accounting system.
What exactly do you mean by they don't show it on their balance sheet?
They don't show it on the balance sheet, it's below the line, it's in the note.
In the notes.
Note section.
I mean,
It says,
we think for the amount of money involved with the loan, that should be shown on the balance sheet. And that's,
okay,
pretty much that's how we handle most
well,
cash basis clients that have a, you know, significant material.
you know, here's, I don't know
Low
if you can
payable.
see this or not, but this basically is from Corporate Financial Institute, and they take the accounts payable, line of credit, and come up with current liabilities. And then what they do is then they have their long-term debt, they add it together to get the total liabilities, but the current liabilities are only $280,000 on this example. And then we would take our current portion of our loan, the
Okay.
debt service would be subtracted from the short-term, the actual current assets.
I mean, we just show liabilities as they're grouped all together. If you can see there that there is a category for the short-term portion of the note payable. It's like a total of 516,000.
What page are you on?
The front page,
Yeah. Yeah.
so that is the short-term portion.
I'll only mention one more thing.
Sure.
I think we're headed in the right direction, and we've spoken about going with a modified cash basis.
Okay.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but that gives us a couple of things. It gives us a way to track our assets, a way to depreciate our assets.
Correct.
And a way to be even more transparent than we are now. I think we've done a great deal by having our liabilities and our assets talk to each other, and Andy's done that through bringing QuickBooks in, so it's given us a big leg up to go forward with a modified cash basis.
Yes.
So I think that's great. Just one more thing for your consideration, and you can have this piece of paper when I'm done. This is from the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, and it's their flyer from May of 2006. It says, it's a long article, but the part I highlighted is, with a few exceptions, the governmental funds balance sheet reports cash and other financial resources as assets and amounts owed that are expected to be paid off within a short period of time. I really don't think we should be looking at our loan and subtracting that from current assets. It can be done below the line, but there should be some line that says to our lenders, New Freedom Borough has a positive working capital, and
Okay.
that we're all okay. I mean, if you don't agree with that, then you shouldn't say that. But if we are, as you said, we are strong financially, and if you do agree with that, then if at all possible, I would like to see something that says just that.
I mean, that's what this new format in the handout you were given shows. That's the model that we want to use going forward.
Okay, can we show this, or can you prepare something it would show our lenders that we're okay, so that Andy doesn't keep getting calls?
I mean, actually, it would be this.
Yeah, this is fine if it was done formal with a cover letter. I would love that.
Oh, okay, yeah, I mean, however you want, it's fine.
Yeah, that would be great. And then, it just dispels you know how rumors get started and then they never end, so.
I
So
understand.
yes, I would just appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Okay, so I could just email that to you.
Right, so then going forward in '23, all of those improvements would be capitalized as capitalized asset, and we would develop a capitalization policy so that when the borough does make a purchase or make an improvement over a certain dollar threshold, that improvement is capitalized and reflected as an asset.
Yeah, it shows as an asset,
And I think
exactly.
that's something that wasn't done, that's something that we need to do so that this situation doesn't come up in the future.
Yeah.
But I think with these changes that have been made, 21 and 22 reflect the actual fund equity that New Freedom has in going into 23.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, thank you.
I agree.
That would be great. Those are my main questions. I'm going to open it up to the
Sure,
rest of the
sure.
council.
So you said you can make changes in '23
Right.
going forward. How come those changes couldn't be made for '21 and '22? How come?
I just
over these
recommended
months?
that they could go forward with it. I mean, as far as the balance sheet, this, like the 3 million that's shown here where the arrow points to is an accumulation of both 21 and 22. So it's the assets that were, like I said, they were purchased with the new general obligation note issue. So in effect, what you're seeing on 22 is both years combined for the assets. And if we would send this, basically probably just this sheet to the bank, I would think that would be sufficient.
I think you're right. If you will.
If that answers,
Let me just say, to answer your question further, what we need to do as a council is Andy's going to prepare a capitalization report. We're going to look at it. We're going to figure out, do we want to move forward with this? And it would require a council vote to change our accounting system. And then we would change to the modified cash, which is what Shrewsbury Borough is using currently. And what that does for you is allows you to track your assets, and not only track your assets, but to use those assets to show, not that we're going to sell Marge Goodfellow Park, but it allows you to balance your liabilities against your assets to show where you really are on the balance sheet. It's more how a business would run.
Let me ask you this question. Would it be
Sure.
safe to say that you want the balance sheet to reflect the accounting that was in place at the time during the year?
correct, yes.
So you want them to match up so that you can explain, this is the accounting system was in place and this is the balance sheet that was, quote, generated.
Right.
So going forward, if the borough changed their accounting system, then it would accurately reflect the accounting change that was made in 2023.
Right.
You can't actually go back and capitalize assets for 21 and 22.
I mean, I would recommend going forward. I mean, this
Going forward,
summary
right.
would explain that.
I agree, yeah.
So,
Could you provide an explanatory note to maybe put in 21 and 22's
Yes.
audits?
So I think his spreadsheet and his cover letter are going to tell our lenders, New Freedom is strong, we have a positive working capital.
But it would be a way, to kind of capture the last 2 years per
I see what you're
Eric's suggestion, to make the change. We capture it by way of explanatory note, but we wouldn't have to change the balance sheet and the audit. So we'd at least have it kind of an insert.
in other words, basically something with the information that's on this page shown either in the notes or in supplemental information. There's maybe like 4 or 5 pages of supplemental information.
Maybe just some explanatory document to put
Okay.
in with those, so that we capture the concept for the last 2 years, but we don't do a ton of work to change it. And then,
I mean, I think this would be sufficient, as I explained before. The 3 million is that's what the arrow pointed to, is an accumulation of both years.
I don't disagree with you.
Oh, right, I understand.
I think if you put it in a narrative, just a short narrative to
Okay.
explain that might be helpful for the public and for Borough Council to understand for the last 2 years, and they can point to that and say, okay, this is the explanation. That's all I'm suggesting.
And this does not, anywhere that I can see, state that this is for 21 and 22, if we're gonna use this.
Well-
Should we have a separate one for 21 like this, and then another one for 22?
Well, it's year ending.
Is it?
21.
Excuse me. Up at the top, it's dated, the balance sheet's dated December 31st, 2022. The only point I was making is, like I said before, with
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see
That's
you
okay.
had a separate balance sheet here for 2021, since we just got
Right.
these and didn't have a chance to.
And like I said, the amount, the number in that 3 million, that's an accumulation of 21 and 22. I mean, I'm flexible however you want things presented. I mean,
I just think
That's
it
my
needs to be
thoughts.
explanatory.
I'm
Yeah.
open to any suggestions on that.
You know where we're trying to get to.
Yes.
You know what we want to show our lenders so that we, and what we want to show the public. So I think we'll leave that up to you, and,
Okay, I mean, I can send a draft to Andy, he can
yeah, that's fine. That'd be great.
Yeah,
just have it, email that to pass that out to everybody.
Yeah.
No, like I said, I'm open to any ideas at all on that.
No, that's perfect.
So, as the auditor, have you changed how you report or classify anything that brought this from
No,
21 forward?
it's been done the same since forever.
In our meeting, you guys said it was the auditor that changed. I'm just trying to figure out how it happened, but you said they changed their reporting and classifying is what created
I
this.
think what actually happened was, in the past, we had, and as I've said before, we had 2 different accounting systems. One was for liabilities, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, but one was for liabilities, one was for assets. And some of this we didn't see. By bringing them together and putting them under one system, we've gained transparency, and this is kind of the cost.
What do you
So
mean
we
bringing
have
them together under one system? What system are you talking about?
QuickBooks.
I
You
think,
said QuickBooks didn't affect this when we talked, that this wasn't a result of QuickBooks.
It was a result of bringing the assets and the liabilities together, in part.
the assets, as we were discussing earlier, have never been recorded. I think before, in the old accounting system, all the funds were all separate. In other words, hypothetical, general fund, sewer, and water. Under QuickBooks, they were all, I'm trying to explain this simply. Under the old system, they were all separate, so to speak. Under like a fund number, like general fund was 01, sewer was 08. Under QuickBooks, it's all recorded in the same system, but the way Andy has it divided up, it's divided up by, correct me if I'm wrong, by classes. So in other words, we were able to take his trial balance and then prepare separate trial balances for each of the funds. And it was the first year, but I mean, he set it up very well, and we were able to understand everything, and it was just a matter of getting the right reports. But I mean, it's basically the same. It didn't change, so to speak. It's just all new software, and it's shown differently the way it's organized. I don't know if I'm explaining that right. I don't know if I'm helping you with your question or not.
it eliminates a lot of the due to, due from issues that.
Exactly, it's a lot simpler. I mean, we all, my 2 coworkers and I mean, we think it's fine. I mean, it's well set up, and should be great going forward.
In 21, what was the basis for taking nearly the 9 million?
I'm sorry?
In the 21, didn't you take 8.860? Didn't you wasn't that from the 2012? No?
Refinance.
Yeah, we refinanced, but
It wasn't 8
you
million.
had mentioned that before, but
Mhm.
remember that that was to refinance what was left from the 2012 and add additional funds for the sewer
Sewer.
improvements, but we have not pulled a dollar from the sewer general obligation there at this point.
So when you don't pull anything, you're not paying anything? You're not paying
Yeah,
anything
it's just
on it
sitting
until you pull it.
Yes.
There's not even any current debt service.
In 22, how much was pooled?
22, I believe we had one final payment for the public works renovation, and I believe that was it, because everything else should have been finalized at that point. The Franklin Main and Constitution Avenue project was finalized by that point, so I don't believe that there were any additional draws. Mark, is that correct, in 22?
Well, in 22, it was $1 million and $1,02,127 was drawn into general fund in 2002.
22.
I guess I'm referring to that A, B,
In
C
22.
papers.
Yes, yeah,
Yes,
That's what I'm referring to in 22.
well, that actually was the refinance in 21. You're referring to...
These ones.
22 is the audit for 21, right?
Yeah, these ones.
Yeah, this is the closing statement from the 2021. So the amount that was to pay off the 2012 note was 2.1 million. And then there was an initial draw in the different funds. So you can see sewer fund was basically $3.5 million. And we haven't pulled any of that other than to refinance the 2012 portion, which was only $439,000 at the time.
that's correct.
And the refi was at a 6% rate, and we refied it at 2%.
But
That's how much you can pull, the 8.8, but you have not,
correct,
and you don't pay on that 8.8 until you pull it.
that's correct.
Bart, this is, if you're a business, it's sort of like a line of credit, right? You're gonna pull on that when you.
So how much equity?
I mean, there's, per the amortization schedules, there's principal and interest payments that are allocated to each fund each year.
Yep.
If that answers, so there would have been principal payments made on this note in 22.
But we didn't pull any on the sewer, so there's-
Correct.
what we're paid in 22 on sewer only relates to the refinance portion.
Right.
What about the other two?
That would be what money was drawn plus the refinance. So when you're looking at the debt service, 22 would have just been debt service in the sewer fund for the refinance portion. The general fund and the water fund would have been the refinance portion plus the two initial draws.
For $1 million each?
That was the initial draw, yes. And that was to cover costs for the project that was already under construction for the Franklin Main Constitution Avenue Water and Sewer project.
Andrew, maybe just want to say something quick about refinancing and why it was refinanced. I mean,
Basically, the rates at the time were pretty much at historic lows. So there were a lot of municipal entities, authorities, townships, boroughs that were refinancing at that time because.
save some money on your.
Absolutely, yeah, and I think, like you mentioned, it was somewhere around 6, refinanced down to around 2%.
1.79, I think it started.
So basically, there's going to be another way to report the general obligation note.
Yes.
That's what you're
it'll be balanced against the assets.
Well, the note itself, it'll just be the same. The thing to keep in mind is we're gonna have the assets against it. In other words, it won't just be the loan only. In other words, like the 3 million up here at the top with the arrow, that's gonna be included every year going forward, you know, as an asset, and then that'll balance out so the fund balance won't be at a negative or a deficit.
And again, fund balance and cash balance, you have
Two
to
different
look at
things.
as two different things. That's why you have the cash and cash equivalents in the first line item as assets, under assets.
We don't, you know, I think part of the problem is when you're used to dealing with businesses, like you have working capital, you know what your working capital is, it's assets minus current liabilities, and that's a number everybody looks at for loans. But municipalities are a little bit different because we start a new budget every year. So,
Okay.
you know, it makes it a little bit different. But we'll move a little closer to that by capitalizing our assets. It'll be more transparent, we'll be able to see what we own, how old things are, if things are depreciated, you know, to what point. It'll even give you a leg up on the replacement value and things like that. So I think it's a
We
good
have
thing.
that outlined in our capital reserve fund.
Right, I realize, but
Beyond that.
it'll be supplemental basically.
Is there a different level of audit that we can request? Like, are there different levels of
I mean,
audit?
this is pretty much it for how it works for municipalities. What exactly did you have in mind? I'm not,
Well, I think the only other one, I mean, if you were allocated more than $750,000 in federal funding, you would fall under a single audit. And that's much more testing.
testing whether long story short, testing whether the client is complying with the rules that go along with the program, with the federal program, in a short summary.
And that's only if you expend more than.
Right, 750,000, yes.
But I think
That's a requirement of the provider or the lender.
federal.
Right.
Yeah, this, basically what we need to be able to show, and I think with the modification here to 21 and 22 with the note, is we just need to show People's Bank and Security, which is a general obligation note holder, that there's not a negative fund equity, and, you know, they're not throwing too much of a fit at this point because they're getting their debt service payments, but they still do their due diligence to make sure that there aren't any issues. So this will be sufficient for their review.
And how does an exit audit differ from this audit?
I'm not sure what you mean.
Like when there's like long-term employees that have been there for years and years and they
I
exit?
mean, our audit is
Are
a
they?
financial audit
Mhm.
only. I'm not
Do auditors do exit audits?
sure what you mean, like
She
a,
means like if a borough manager leaves.
no, we
then
don't
they-
do any, yeah, that's not under
You
our,
would probably. call it
Forensic audit.
Oh, that's what a different term.
yeah, that's a whole different,
You're actually looking for fraud.
right.
And to see if, make sure that everything is, you know, that nobody is stolen from you. That's what that audit is for.
Yes.
Anything else? Thanks, Mark, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
I do have one other question, Mark, I'm sorry. Under the notes, New Freedom Borough notes to financial statements, I have, the accounting policies of the New Freedom Borough do not conform to generally accepted accounting principles. Can you go over what you mean by that? Note 1 under our.
I can hit it real quick. I mean,
Go ahead.
normally what he's doing is he's auditing a company that has accrual-based accounting. We don't conform to accrual-based accounting. We won't even conform to accrual-based accounting when we switch to a modified cash system. So unless we want to do things like record revenues before we get them, like, in other words, take an accrual on something that we're planning on receiving, we will never, ever be completely compliant with generally accepted accounting
Okay.
procedures because we're not a business. We're not a for-profit business. We're not trying to make a profit. We're trying to give services, and some of our activities are business-like, like whenever we do sewer and water, and we bill it, and then, you know, that money goes back into sewer and water to buy, you know, additional chemicals for the sewage treatment plant, things like that. Those are business-like activities, but overall, we're not a business.
What page are you on by chance?
Page 7,
Page 7.
Of your actual audit.
note 1, the last paragraph at the top.
Yeah, second paragraph at the top. Do not conform to generally accepted accounting principles. Governmental fund types and proprietary.
Oh,
fund
sorry,
types.
I got you now.
Report the right type.
Yeah.
Cash
That
basis.
second sentence explains the first one.
Yeah, I mean, with the accrual, you'd be recording like receivables, payables, you know, all kinds of different other liabilities, but I mean, the receivables and payables would be the main parts of it.
Right.
And,
In a short summary.
and the Southern Police Commission, I don't know
Yeah.
where you got this
We are-
information.
We already
talked to that.
fixed it.
You
And
fixed
the
it?
authority. Yep.
And the authority?
And then, I was gonna bring up the authority as a related organization.
There is no authority.
Yeah, that just needs to be updated.
It's on the same page. Page 7.
Andy has a list, and we'll give you the current
Oh,
information.
I thought we had talked about it in the 21, it appeared in the 22 also. Who audits our sewer? The sewer authority is not audited in here? There's no sewer,
There is no
our
sewer.
sewer plant, how's our sewer plant audited?
It's part of this. We are the sewer plant.
It's in this audit?
Yeah.
I have a copy and I can give that to everyone. It's actually probably, that format could use a little adjusting, but I just did that quick. I forgot to give that to you.
Yeah, no, that cleans it all up. Yep.
So that's, you can make copies and make sure we get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you're correct, the police was not up to date, and obviously there was the authority, but, because I think there was some more municipalities that needed added, but that should be good then.
Okay,
Thanks, Rick.
thank you. Next up is Jenny Neugebauer. Thanks again, Mark.
Thank you. Good night.
Jenny Neugebauer, 45 South Constitution. I just want to preface by saying my husband has been spending a lot of time with Andrew, Wade, and Brenda to figure out the permit situation for the new stormwater ordinance. So that's why I'm here. I came to council tonight to inquire about alternative solutions regarding the updated ordinance. My husband and I own a small business in the borough, Freedom Outdoor Design. Like many other similar businesses, we, or should I say I, the residents of the borough have encountered some additional financial burdens following the implementation of the new ordinance. The current minimum impervious square footage requirement of 240 square feet has posed limitations and added expenses to most outdoor projects. The general need for stormwater pits has added an average expense of $2,500 to our bids within the borough. To date, we have been fortunate to eat the extra cost, however, not all small businesses can afford such absorptions. I've contacted other local businesses and collectively we agree our average patio deck, shed pad, etc. runs under 500 square feet. I'm asking council to consider a revision or alternative solution to the current 240 square foot requirement. I have done a lot of research. I have phoned several other municipalities. Not all of them have adopted a new ordinance, but many of them follow the requirement of a stormwater pit of impervious square footage of 500 square feet or more. Additionally, several impose a $1 charge per square foot for new impervious property additions up to 500 square feet, some are up to 1,000. I'm hoping we can find a compromise that both financially contributes to the stormwater fund while not financially restricting the residents of our borough. There is a significant price difference between an added $300 cost versus an added $2,500 cost for a 300 square foot deck or patio. The residents of our borough take pride in their properties, and by revising some of these limiting requirements, more residents may be able to afford such improvements to their homes.
Thank you.
Very well.
It was very well said.
Thanks.
Nice tan.
Thanks.
She wrote that on vacation.
I wrote it before I went.
Oh.
I had to get all my research done.
Full disclosure, I met with Jenny about this. She had a concern about it and about the 500 square feet. And as a consequence, Andrew spoke with our engineer, and Jenny's absolutely right. Many other municipalities do $1 per square foot up to 500 square feet. We had used 240 square feet because it matched our zoning, and our zoning was for a shed of 240 square feet. And I don't think we realized at the time that this would be an impact to the citizens and the contractors in the area. So at this time, with everyone's, I would like to make a motion that we change or amend our ordinance so that from 0 to 500 square feet, and you have this in your packet, from 0 to 500 square feet will be $1 per square foot of new impervious area, and 500 to 2,000 square feet, you would have to create a stormwater plan based on the simplified approach, and 2,000 plus square feet, a full stormwater management plan. The $1 square foot would go into a stormwater fund to make repairs. This meets the requirement of us for the stormwater management, and it also gives the contractors and the citizens less of a burden. So I would make that motion at this time.
I'll second it.
Have a motion and a second?
This is just a.
This is just a draft. Yeah.
I assume our engineers check with DEP, they don't have heartburn with this, because DEP is gonna get involved at some point.
Yeah,
This won't affect the MS4.
no, yeah,
This,
we're not.
this is compliant with MS4.
Yeah, as long as you're under that 1,000 square feet, that's really their threshold. So, yeah, it's been done in similar municipalities, and it's kind of the preferred method.
What is a simplified approach?
That was in the packet that was approved by council as part of the ordinance.
You've seen, in terms of.
Sure it was, but probably 500 pages ago of reading.
Oh, yeah, I know, yeah.
How does it simplify?
It takes a full-blown stormwater plan and makes it a little bit more feasible for an average project to complete. It still requires that there are calculations based on the new impervious, putting in a seepage pit, the size of the seepage pit, the specifications on material, location, and there's a required operation and maintenance agreement that needs to be recorded at the courthouse by the property owner on that. So it sounds complicated, but it's simplified in the fact that it can be completed by working with the property owner in-house and with a contractor outside of having an engineer or architect to create a full stormwater plan for that parcel.
That's where a lot of our stuff is following now, right? Yeah, because our clients have had.
I think the key thing is the 0 to 500 square feet being just a simple $1 fee that would go into a stormwater management fund.
Do we have people that have already paid for the 240 under the current?
Probably not.
Ordinance.
There may be, I mean, you'd have to ask probably Tony and Jimmy.
What do you-
But yeah, I
What do you
mean,
mean by paid?
in other words, if they have
If
gone
they
out
have
and done.
240 square feet, the charge was completely different
than $1 a square foot, correct?
Well,
No, there
there
wasn't
wasn't
a
a
dollar
charge, there was the
change.
need for the improvement or to remediate.
It was just a
additional
permit.
flow from that property. So if they're putting in a deck that was 300 square feet, but they also had a shed on the property that was 300 square feet, you can mitigate the stormwater off of that shed instead of the deck. So there's been measures in place like that, but there's been no dollar per square foot charge to anybody at this point, because that's not.
What was it, I don't understand that with Ginny, she said the difference between like $300.
That was my example. So, like,
$2,500.
when I called, for instance, as it stands now, if my husband has to add a stormwater pit to some of our jobs, which there's been some things that we have eaten the additional expense, we haven't passed it on. But if we do, like some of the other municipalities do at the $1, it's cheaper for our customers to pay $300 than to pay for a stormwater pit.
Okay, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Do we have people that have paid for a stormwater pit that really didn't need one under this,
Under the new one?
under the new?
I'm not sure it's quite relevant, but I mean,
Well,
there
to
may or
me,
may
if we're
not.
changing an ordinance, I think they really should get a rebate if we're, you know.
We didn't charge them.
We didn't
No, the
charge-
contractor pays for it.
Right.
And like personally, I will be completely transparent, all of our borough stuff, I said we needed to wait till I came to this meeting before we move forward with their jobs, because it's a large expense. So like I kind of went to bat for our customers.
You actually have
So,
to
yeah.
catch the stormwater coming off the deck and divert it to the seepage pit.
If there's no
So
other,
if
if
there's
there's
no,
other
nothing
way.
else on the
Yeah.
property that we can look at.
right. So, you know, it's, yeah, I mean, I think this just corrects an error. It's not
Okay, I was just concerned.
There may
that
be-
There may
if
be
someone
some
comes
people that
forward.
paid.
yeah, if somebody comes
Additional.
forward, we can address it at the time, but
The
I
majority
don't
of
know
the ones
any.
that have gone in have been larger projects.
Yeah.
And
That
most of
would-
ours
that
have
would
fallen
have
under the
Had
simplified.
to anyway. Okay.
Andrew, is there an accumulative consideration here? Let's say they put in, somebody puts in 500 square foot shed this year, next year they decide, I'm gonna put in 1,000 square foot for a garage or another 500 square foot for a shed. Now I've done 1,000 with the additional,
Yeah, the way the ordinance is worded now, it is cumulative as of September of, 2022. But, yeah, the issue with that is, that's pretty much going to have to go away with this change.
all right, but at some point, you know,
At that point, you're probably meeting your maximum cover anyway.
yeah, I was just gonna say, so you don't get into a situation, I'm gonna do 500 square foot this year, next year I'm gonna put an addition on another 500 square foot, and so on, and so on, until I got my 3,000 square foot that I was shooting for initially anyways. See that done before, Blaine?
There's one other component to this that Borough Council has to be aware of. When you collect that money in that fund, you're gonna have to commit to using that money to address stormwater down the road and do these projects. You can't just sit on it, because the whole concept is with the stormwater management ordinance, you handle your water on your property. What we're doing is we're allowing those folks to do these smaller projects. If you do, to your point, if there are 5 decks that are 400 square feet on a block, you now have 2,000 square feet that would have had to do a full stormwater management plan. So you gotta handle that water at some point in time, which means you're gonna have to budget and plan to do stormwater projects as time goes on to address that stormwater that otherwise would be handled on the property. I have no problem with this approach. It makes sense, but you can't just run away from it and say, oh, we don't have to do it for those properties. We'll just collect $1 per square foot and then not do the other part.
Well, you know what I'm saying, Dave, some
Yeah.
people, you can be pretty clever about
Oh,
this,
yeah.
whether it's a
Trust me,
developer or
I
something
know.
else, that, you know, nothing can undevelop. You can just start adding it up, and it's like,
Yeah, but I mean the cumulative effect on a block. That's what I'm talking about. And the way who's gonna have to do that is the borough. The borough's gonna have to address those stormwater improvements down the road.
So we'll have
It's
a new
pretty
account
fun.
to handle that.
It'll be a new fund.
Okay.
Yeah.
where it's gonna get handled. You're not gonna go into somebody's property probably to do anything.
In this, the last I recall, decks were classified as not allowing water to run through them.
Say that one more time.
Impervious.
Decks were not classified as allowing water to run through them.
Right,
Is the
they're
last.
classified as.
Have those been reclassified?
I don't understand the
Well,
question.
I
There's
mean,
been no
obvi-
change to the ordinance, and this doesn't propose a change to
Well,
the ordinance.
that's what I'm
so-
saying, last I recall, so that's still how it stands, that decks are not considered to pass water through.
That's correct, yeah.
But water obviously passes through decks because the boards have to be so far apart.
That's DEP's model ordinance.
Doesn't, yeah.
Because I know my deck, I've got a big backyard, everything from my deck runs down through the grass and it never gets to the alley, the playground alley. It soaks in before it gets there, but yet I'm kind of paying.
So you can't, you're saying we cannot change that?
Well, no, that's a DEP, right?
So we cannot
You're not
change
gonna
it.
change that.
That's the same as pools, correct? Because pools
Yeah,
are
pools are
considered,
not-
even though they'll hold another 3 inches
Yeah,
of
you would
water.
think that it would be okay for
So-
a pool, but, yeah.
So there's a width requirement between the wood on a deck?
Yeah, the boards don't go
Yeah.
up
Well, they,
against
So
each
it does
other.
drain.
I don't know,
It depends what we have.
Builder out there,
Something we can
ask
force
builder.
people to-
How far?
Don't mind, and I was told it had to be put together, so. I mean, it shrinks out after time.
right.
They all do.
Okay. Anything else on this?
Do you want to put something in with the cumulative impact on, I mean, we probably should address that, I would think.
I thought we had that in there.
Well, Andy said it's gonna go away then, so I think we need to hash that out.
Yeah, that needs to be discussed, but the way it's currently in the ordinance is it's cumulative as of September of '22. Any improvements 0 to 240 square feet are exempt. Once you hit 240 and up, it's a simplified approach.
Right. But why wouldn't you still, why wouldn't this?
You mean restart that as of the adoption date of this ordinance?
Yeah,
Is that what you're suggesting?
yes, exactly. I mean, and then you would have your, I mean, if somebody built a 500 square foot deck, then, and then came back with another 500 square foot deck, you monitored that, you know that that's happening, it would be cumulative, right? You still know what they paid, you still have a record of the permit.
So what if they come in and say, I'm putting in a 300 square foot shed, and then they come back and say, I'm putting in a 500 square foot deck? Now you're, which one are you, how are you, what bucket is that gonna fall in?
If it's 300, it's exempt under this proposal. And once you go over the 500, you're in the simplified approach.
Right, but are you
So-
giving them the deduction for the 200 that they didn't use?
No, you're giving them the 200, the first 200 free. And then they get, the 300 pushes them over on the deck.
Okay, but does that fall under?
If you add them together, you should be in the simplified approach, right?
That's kind of where I'm going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you added them together. All right, say it was 600 and 300. Are you gonna give them 200 of the 600 off, and then he falls back under the?
Shouldn't it be by property and whether if you
Well,
go?
it's-
It was kind of mentioned about playing games.
Yeah.
Someone's going to bring that up.
Yeah, I think it needs to be cumulative. I mean, I don't, because you don't want that. You don't want somebody who wants 2,000 feet worth of deck, putting it in 400 square feet at a time.
But you're back to the same issue. If it's cumulative and somebody puts an improvement of 500 and they come back and put a 10 by 10 shed in,
That's gonna be us, we have one of those.
how, then you're back, now you're over that 500 and then it's, a stormwater BMP, but then you're only catching 100 square feet of the 600. You get
I think this needs to be tabled and discussed some more. It's clear.
Is that,
I understand.
I mean, that would throw it back to your small projects that you're gonna have to put a BMP in for anything less than 5.
The second project, it might still be small, but if it pushes the cumulative over the 500, I mean, either way, it would help us, because not everyone is doing, the X, Y, Z, or at least you get a little break on X and maybe not on Y or whatever, but that's a very good forethought, because we have a lot of those
I
situations.
think the way that this is presented is that it is per project. But
It needs more investigation.
As long as it doesn't go over the permitted square footage on that particular
Be lot coverage. Lot coverage, lot coverage.
lot coverage.
right, all those other factors still into play, but as
They're
far as
still
looking at
designed.
stormwater, this would apply on a per project.
Does DEP though, is their 1,000-foot net square foot limit, is that cumulative or is that per project?
I believe that's just per project.
Well, then I think we need to meet DEP, and that's what we do.
I think it's a question for the borough, because again, the cumulative impact of that is what we're dealing with today, that we never dealt with in the past. So I think you have to determine whether or not you want to, it's one thing to give a break on a small project once or twice, but when you start building it up, that just puts it back on the borough to do larger projects to handle the stormwater that's is running off into the streets. That's my only point of making the comment I did, is at some point, you have to use that money, and you have to use it to take care of the stormwater that
Right.
the property owner would have otherwise taken care
Well, can we resolve this tonight, or do you want to go back and talk to the engineer?
We have a motion and a second.
I'm just asking though, do you feel that you need to resolve it with the engineer, or do you think we're okay where we are?
This is going to solve a lot of the problems. I don't see, this is done in multiple other municipalities who are actually hold an MS4 permit at the time, so I don't
Doing the
personally see.
cumulative
No.
or
No, just per project.
per project?
Any other discussion?
Are we sure that this is going to resolve it?
Well, I think, yeah, it goes a long way to resolving it.
But is it going to have to be revisited again?
No, I don't
It
think
won't
so.
come back and bite us.
I don't think so. There's no information that we have currently that would say that this is going to come back and bite us.
So this is going to be the resolution to what the citizens have come up against,
Right, exactly.
having to build the pits.
For the 500 square foot projects, yes.
Plus the simplified paperwork is extensive and
What's the general size of a deck that goes in?
300.
we don't do a ton, probably only 20% of our business is debt.
360.
360.
360.
Okay.
Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye.
Thank you.
So we'll have that for next time, I guess. All right, Richard Walton.
Got there, I'll forget it.
I'm here on behalf of the estate of Dorothy Irene Bear, who lives at 15 Mulberry Lane, at Westview Manor, where she did, she's passed away. She and her husband, Fred, owned property up in that area behind the previous home that they had on Rutledge Road. They developed sold and developed the development of Westview Manor, just off a single road, and it encompasses Bearland Drive and Mulberry Lane. Back when that
development was created back around 1980, 1981. The issue of the detention pond, the Bear family agreed to have that detention pond become part of their Lot 10. It drains down into the area of the rail trail. In that agreement, it states that they will maintain the swales and the detention pond. And the swales run, I don't know if you folks have any images to look at. I have some here that you can take a look at. The property is very long, and the swales go all the way from Rutledge Road all the way down to Mulberry Lane and down to the rail trail. Here's some things you might have to share. The red is the Bear family's property, and
We're good.
The Bear family's been maintaining the swales that go all the way from Rutledge Road all the way down along the longest border of the property behind the cul-de-sac, and the detention pond is at the very bottom, and it drains into the Heritage Rail Trail Creek. In the agreement, it states that they will maintain these swales and that they will pay for repairs for any damages to the detention pond over the long haul, I guess, maintenance and repair of the swales and the detention pond. They've been maintaining that for the last close to 40 years. In Mrs. Bear's absence, the estate is being sold and hoping to put it on the market very soon. And we would ask the council to eliminate the repair issue. There's a corrugated pipe, I guess underground, that goes and drains I think there's a drain at the end of the cul-de-sac also that comes down from all the other houses on Mulberry Lane and Barrelly Drive and goes down into the detention pond. And then there's a drain pipe into the Rail Trail Creek at the bottom of the pond. And I believe it says an 18-inch corrugated metal pipe. What the family is asking for is, I mean, obviously the swales, for the most part, go, again, from Rutledge Road all the way down to the detention pond. And they've been maintaining those, and they really have they're on the property, so they really have no issue with maintaining those. However, to put the burden of the cost on repairing the detention pond or the drainage or entrance to the detention pond from the cul-de-sac, especially in light of the fact that just some of you have the area that's marked, it's actually tax parcel 43. As you come down off of Rutledge Road, there's a detention pond that was just built there just a few years ago with the development of Highland Meadow Court development. And at least 6 or 7 properties, plus there's another home that was built with a long driveway that goes up, which also drains into the property of Mr. and Mrs., formerly of Mr. and Mrs. Bear. And so that adds to, I mean, the detention pond was built to handle a specific size of flow into it and out of it. This is added to it since then. And they're asking that the repair aspect of the agreement to be waived and have a new agreement drawn up to where the owners of Lot 10 agreed to maintain trash and mowing and so on and so forth for the property, but that's a heck of a big expense to put on, especially since the expansion of the development just up at Highland Meadows to put more water down into those swales and the detention pond.
How much pipe are we talking about?
Say again?
How much pipe are we talking about? Legal feet?
Well, at the top, I imagine it's just underneath the 18-inch pipe inlet, I guess, is just under the macadam. And the one on the lower end, obviously, is probably down pretty deep because it's a fairly deep detention pond. And for a homeowner to have to excavate that and put in, I mean, it's been in there for 36, 38 years, almost 40 years. And there's never been a problem of any kind, and it doesn't appear to be any issue with it now.
Can I ask a couple quick questions there, Rich?
Sure.
So you said that lot 43 has that detention basin?
That has a supplemental, there's another, I'm told by Wade Portner, that there's another detention basin on the, I guess, east side or southeast side of Highland Meadows Court. But all the houses on the west side or northwest side, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Wait, but they drain to the basin on 43, not to the basin on 10.
No, it goes into that basin, and that basin, Mr. Bear signed an agreement with the developer.
Okay. Did he get paid to sign that agreement?
No,
Oh, okay.
he just signed.
Okay.
That's the kind of guy he was. He said, "Go, it's here."
But he developed the rest of this development that created, is that what I'm hearing? Initially, they developed,
You're saying Bear developed it?
yeah, they developed, I'm sorry, what the name was? Westview Manor?
He developed it.
Okay.
He developed the project.
Okay. So when you say that-
I just want to be up on the level here. After he developed that project, my former partner and I purchased the lots, the development from him, and had to build a
He didn't give it
house.
to you though, you paid him for him, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes.
Just making sure. So that pipe though, as I read the reservation here, I read it as New Freedom Borough is already responsible for that corrugated metal pipe. It says New Freedom Borough is hereby granted such easement over, under, and through Lot 10 as is necessary and/or appropriate for the proper maintenance, repair, replacement, renewal of the 18-inch corrugated metal storm drainage pipe extending from Mulberry Lane cul-de-sac into Lot 10 as shown on sheets 1 of 5, 4 of 5, and 5 of 5.
Right, just that section.
Right.
Is that the whole pipe, or is there more?
I'm just trying to make sure I understand what you're asking for, because I read this to say the borough is already responsible for that pipe as noted on that plan, if this is the language, right, Andy?
Yep.
It's the very last, I don't know what you're looking at.
I'm looking at the, what's recorded with the deed.
So this is Exhibit
It's the
A,
same, yeah.
okay, yeah, so it's the very last paragraph. But it seems to address the corrugated 18-inch corrugated metal pipe from the cul-de-sac into Lot 10.
Right. It comes off the catch basin and the cul-de-sac, extends maybe 40, 50 feet into the basin, The only thing it wouldn't cover would be the outfall in that case, correct?
I'm just reading,
Right.
I don't have the sheet, so I assume it's shown on the sheet.
It is not, no, and the only sheet that we could find, it does reference that there's detention pond details on sheet 4 of 5, but we're still trying to find sheet 4 of 5 somewhere.
Should have highlighted it.
Was there ever any money escrowed for maintenance, replacement, et cetera?
Not that I'm aware of.
I doubt that now.
So
When
it
you're
sounds,
talking about the cul-de-sac, you're saying off of Mulberry, it doesn't have anything to do with any of these.
Correct. And they're just swales anyway, I think. Up here. They're just swales.
Yeah, that would be on the property anyway.
Right.
I should have highlighted it. I'm looking for the wording that discusses the 18-inch corrugated metal pipe.
so it sounds like we're already maintaining that. Correct?
Well, we have an easement over that.
I'm not sure why we give us an easement
Yeah,
if
we're
it's
not
not for
maintaining
the
it.
necessary and or appropriate for the proper maintenance, repair, replacement, and or renewal of the 18-inch corrugated metal sewer drainage pipe.
Yeah, I mean, on this plan, there is no easement shown.
It was
in
part of just a
parallel-
general.
In parallel with that pipe. There's easement shown for sewer and water. And
So it's-
drainage right away coming from the top of the property, the northeast.
So it sounds like what the solicitor is saying is you already have what you're asking for. You're not responsible for maintenance of the pipe. You're only responsible for mowing and,
Swales?
What about outfall?
It doesn't address that, but it,
What are you looking at again, Dave?
this is a copy of the, I think it looks, it's just, it's on the deed, right? Oh, you have extra copies.
So it's recorded with the deed.
Yeah, I think, I assume, it doesn't have a deed book and page reference on it or anything, but.
Well, it says the
Well, it's-
obligation of maintenance and repair
So this.
herein set forth, as well as the provisions of the immediately following sentences, shall bind each owner of Lot 10 who shall be deemed to agree thereto by the acceptance of a conveyance or devolution of title, and who shall be responsible for such repairs and maintenance.
Yeah, but I think it's defined above what the property owner has to do. Why would why would they have to give us an easement, the borough an easement, to repair and maintain the corrugated metal pipe unless that duty was the borough's? We wouldn't need an easement if it was the duty on the property owner,
All right.
right?
I think if
No, I know what you're saying, Dave.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure, again, sitting here, not having everything highlighted that I guess I should have highlighted, I've read it several times, said that the borough can, but is not obligated to make
Yeah,
repairs.
I think I think it's poorly drafted. I think what it meant is those foregoing restrictions that are above, because it goes into detail about what the lot owner has to do. It talks about cleaning out silt, removing debris, making sure the rate of volume doesn't flow any faster, so on and so forth. And then it goes down to that last paragraph, and it says, the borough's gonna have this easement to do this, maintain this easement, or the corrugated metal pipe. I'm not sure why we would need an easement if,
Well, that's what I wanted to hear.
yeah.
yeah, I think you're good. I think you show that to your buyer and,
Yeah, because that'd be something that would be pretty much a,
I mean, your title agent might tell you different, I don't know who they're gonna use for title, but
you know, something else.
that's kind of the language I read there is it seems to me as though the borough already has that duty and obligation. And maybe that was a discussion that happened at the time, like if this is gonna serve the cul-de-sac and take water off the streets, it should be our responsibility to address it.
You could go on that, same paragraph above.
I have a copy.
Which paragraph?
One right above.
Can there be something put in the minutes that that's a determination of the council?
Oh, we're not there yet.
Because when we market the property, we want to be sure we're doing it.
Yeah, but I think that's above. I think that's the, so this is kind of like the current O and M agreement. In essence, it says the duty's on the property owner, but if the property owner doesn't do it, you give the borough the easement to come in and do those things, but they're not obligated to do so. I mean, I can take some time with this is the first time I'm seeing this as well.
Right.
But as I would read that last paragraph, there's absolutely no reason for the borough to have an easement unless it's responsible to maintain, repair, replace, and renew the 18-inch corrugated metal school and drainage pipe extending from Mulberry Lane cul-de-sac into Lot 10 as shown on those sheets.
I know Mr. Bear signed a separate agreement with, is it Northbrook Homes? They did that development, the newer development up at the Highland Meadow that allowed the borough to access the property and make repairs and so on and so forth.
You think
I think I agree with you. I mean, this is saying,
But that was between
this is saying, that-
the borough and Northbrook.
excuse me just one sec. This is saying that we can collect costs and maintenance.
If you would do these things.
Right. Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, that's where our O and M agreement currently, that's what it's modified to today is that the property owner has to do it, but if they don't do it, we have the right to go in and do those things that are necessary to maintain those systems. And if they don't pay us, then we have the right to lien the property and so on. So I read this very similar to that, and then, but again, that last paragraph doesn't make any sense if we don't have a duty to do it in the first place. It would just fall in with everything else. You wouldn't need to call out that last paragraph.
Be nice if we could see a recorded plan, a copy of a recorded plan for that.
There's just, yeah, this is one sheet, this is what sheet is this, I don't.
This is the only one, no, he's got it, never mind. But that's, the sheet 4 or 5 has the detail on the seepage, or the detention basin.
This doesn't have like a
Do you have any
number.
notes though on the?
Yeah, apparently there's 5
The note-
sheets. This is
The
one
note
of 5.
references that exhibit A, which is this agreement.
And they're all of record, I mean, that's, I'm just telling you what I see, like, first pass on this, but it seems to me as though that would be an unnecessary paragraph unless.
You need till next meeting to come up with your.
That's up to Borough Council, I mean, I'm happy to look at this again, yeah, dig into it, but
Because apparently you don't have all the sheets. This is one of 5. There are 5 sheets, and this is only showing what? 2?
I think the drawings are probably.
In the drawings, yeah.
That's the drawing. The other's just an exhibit.
Then why would you even bother with the easement if it wouldn't be,
we wouldn't need to call out that easement for that specific purpose unless
something
we
else?
needed it.
Yeah.
That's kind of my point.
Which would mean what? That it has to be increased from 18-inch corrugated metal?
No, what it
storm
says is
drain
the
to a-
borough shall maintain, repair, replace, and renew the 18-inch corrugated metal storm drainage pipe from Mulberry Lane cul-de-sac into Lot 10. That's the plain language of how it reads.
Yeah, and then the easement, I mean, it's pretty obvious.
It doesn't say the borough shall do these things, but it doesn't make any sense to have an easement for that. If you don't need it, we're not doing it.
Well, I mean, I could give you a personal example. Whenever I put the stormwater pipe underneath my property that went from the corner lot through Dennis's lot and my lot down to the stormwater pit, Steve Hoppus wanted to write an easement up that if we didn't maintain it, that the borough was allowed to come on.
Which is what this
But
paragraph
I had to
says.
maintain it.
But that's what this paragraph says.
Yeah,
That's the paragraph above it.
right, that's the paragraph
Yeah.
above it, right.
Yeah. And I would agree with that. I mean, that's what we do today. That's exactly what we do 2023, that's what we would do, your property owner doing this project.
So are they responsible for the maintenance or not?
Of the corrugated pipe, no, of everything else, yes.
Right, okay.
That's how I read it.
Now say that has to be replaced. Are we gonna get into the same predicament that we're in on North Constitution Avenue with DEP?
Well, we're gonna have to, if there's a requirement for a permit and it's our duty, yes, we have to get a permit. We can't change it, this is a record from 40
I
years.
know, I
Yeah.
know, we just haven't all had a chance to really look at it and digest it.
When are you listing the property?
They would like to get it done as soon as possible.
I'll-
We're really about ready to go there.
Okay, can we give you an answer
No,
next
we can
month
do-
after he reviews it? And
That'd be fine.
that'd be good, okay. Why don't we table it until next month, and Dave, you'll give us his opinion on what exactly this means and what our obligations would be, and then we'll put it to rest then.
And do we have whatever information, other information you have that, like that, you know, before the next meeting?
Well, you're not
I
gonna
think we
see
just
it.
need the
You're
opinion.
not gonna see
You're not
anything
gonna see
different
it?
on that.
Yeah, I think we just need the opinion.
Can I ask for a minor revision on that, since I know the estate would like to get the property sold as soon as possible? Is it possible for Dave to, Attorney Jones to take a look at that and pass an opinion? I guess, but you need everybody to vote on it.
Well, we need to vote, so yeah, that won't happen until next month.
Okay.
Do they happen to have the full set, the drawings? Because this has attachment C detention block for
I'm
detention.
sure I can get them
ponds.
from Gordon Brown.
That's the one I'm trying to get as well.
Okay. Why don't you give us a chance to pull the documents together and make sure we make a sound decision for you and for us, so.
I mean, what I'd really love to see on that sheet 4 or 5 is a called out easement in favor of New Freedom Borough.
Right.
It's defined there, but then that would answer the question.
Okay.
But I think the language is fairly clear.
Yeah, I think we're good, but let's just cross the Ts and dot the Is, so.
Sure.
You assume the plan was recorded, right? So-
Oh, we know it was recorded.
Yeah,
Yeah, but when I pulled it, I could only get
Oh,
that one sheet, which doesn't make any sense.
Just means they didn't do they just did the final plan, like they always used to do.
yeah.
thank you, and you'll be on the agenda for next time, you know, and we'll take care of it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Go ahead.
Tonight. Well, I know a lot of people, most of the people know me, but let me introduce myself first. My name is Isa Diaz, and I don't have much to say, but I'm going to read because I'm very nervous. So yeah, my name is Isa Diaz. I've been in this area for almost 18 years. My kids have been going to school here. I've been involved in different community activities, volunteering for a bunch of things. And I work in Baltimore at the University of Maryland, but I'm also co-owner of Freedom Fitness and Training, the gym across the street. So I'm involved in a lot of things in town. So I'm here to present this idea, which is just to organize or to start a flea market, possibly in the community center, the first Saturday of the month. The idea is to welcome everyone there that has something to sell, from people that are getting rid of the stuff at the house to, I don't know, collectors, farmers, sell flowers, plants, and also give the chance to artisans to put a vendor, set a vendor booth in there, because we have so many people with so much talent in this area. People are just very gifted here, so there would be a nice way of giving them a steady place where they can at least once a month present and sell their stuff. And also, since there's gonna be everything that you can imagine there, like a flea market is, so lost my line of thought, but anyway, so like the idea is to have everyone there selling their stuff, and eventually, if it's successful, which I think it is, because I've been asking in many different areas, and it seems that there's a lot of interest. So if it's successful, make that as a community day every first Saturday, so people will say, oh, every first, it's the first Saturday of New Freedom, like New York has one, you know, a day a month that everyone remembers. And for being part of the gym, I'm also part of the small group business, so I'm sure that many of the business are gonna support this idea because it will also benefit them. And it will bring more, you know, a lot of traffic to the area. I don't think there is a flea market in this area. There's one in northern Maryland, but I don't think there's any other flea market here. So that's basically the idea, if it's possible to do that and make it like a community day.
Do you know what hours you would?
Initially, we'd like to keep it simple, like maybe from 9 to 12, 9 to 1. Yeah, it started that way, and as soon as I started with the idea, people are calling me, and think it's going to be very successful if there's a possibility to use the community center for that. Just once a month. I don't know if it's a big issue or not.
What does pickleball do on Saturdays?
They play pickleball?
I really appreciate it. What's their time?
I don't, not sure what their schedule is on Saturday. 9?
10 to 12?
I thought she was talking about out here with the business. I thought you were talking like in the parking lot, like where the business is, kind of.
The one
Are
part
you
of the
talking
problem,
at the community center or in the park?
Actually, if, I don't know, it's because of if the weather is not nice, at least if we have an indoor option for that. But the idea would be to use both, because you know, if it's as successful as I think it is, it's gonna be a lot of people there. They give some space inside, outdoors, also the park, but all in the same area.
We have the Lions that do their yard sale and their things in there, I think, once a year. I don't know why this would be any different than what Rec had when we had the farmer's market, which we absolutely could not get vendors, especially once a month. They wanted to go someplace where they could do it every week. And they finally, this is the first year we haven't had a farmer's market because there was no interest. I guess personally, I'm trying to figure out how you're gonna get interest in something that hasn't worked yet. And maybe this is something to take to Rec Council to see if they would want to do this again with you in using the borough, the auditorium in there. If we've got somebody that's paying us to rent it, I don't think we are gonna consider giving this to you free and lose that kind of money on a weekend rental.
I'm not saying free. I don't know. I have no idea how much you guys
What's
charge
a
for that.
Saturday rental?
I wasn't.
5?
I guess the question is, were you thinking about strictly outside or outside and inside?
Inside, because in the event of rain, if it's once a month and it rains, we are out for a month. So if it's, you know,
Basically be a half day, 9 to 12. But it probably would not be a bad thought to go back through Rec, right?
Yeah, it would be, but they've already got their pickleball every Saturday. They do it every weekend.
Yeah.
Unless it's rented out. What's our weekend rental for a Saturday?
$650.
$650. So
For the whole day?
there's $650 that we could possibly be losing, you know, that we really need to put in coffers for the community center.
See, maybe talk direct and see if they'd be willing to give up one Saturday, maybe as a compromise.
I think if you talk direct to see if they give up one Saturday, and this is really kind of a half-day rental. I mean, you can still have an event that night if they're out by 12, or, you know, if they're out by 12, someone could come in and set up for a dance or whatever.
Part of the problem is, though, they don't, and that's happened in the past, where somebody's supposed to come in at 2 o'clock to set up, and pickleballers go in, and there's 12 people there already setting up. So I think we have to make sure people know, if we say, you know, your contract says 2 o'clock, please be aware that there are other people and it's 2 o'clock.
Pickleball does the same thing every day. They're in early.
Well, they're in early to clean, we'll get there.
So, wait a minute, what is the schedule that pickleball has in there? So
They said
every,
either 10 to 12 or 9 to 12, 2 times a week.
every
9 to 11.
Saturday?
I can find out for you.
Yeah,
And I guess they pay for the rent, right?
as a rec program, yeah.
Yes, they pay.
Don't flea markets tend to be earlier in the mornings, like, 7 to 10 kind of thing, or 7 to 9?
Well, that's why I say, I mean, you could very well work out a compromise with rec. I think you should probably, since they have it for pickleball, I think you should go talk to them. I mean, if they move, even if they move their pickleball to 10, and you went from 6 to 9, that would be 3 hours just as a start. I think that might be a way to go.
Well, yeah, I definitely would be willing to talk to them, see if we can get, an agreement, yeah. And responding one to Andy was saying, it's not gonna be just the farmers, it's just, that's an option for people that they want to have an extra place to sell their
Well,
stuff.
that's what it was before. They had people coming in selling jewelry, perfume, what all did they sell up there, handcrafts, handmade crafts and everything. 10:30 to 1:30, I got a message that they play pickleball on Saturday.
10:30 to 1:30. Yeah, so again, if you went 6 to 10, that could be a possibility. I really think you should talk to Rex and see if you could work out something for one day a month.
Yeah, I will talk to them and see what to do.
Here is a contact number for Rick, who does the pickleball program and is on the rec commission.
So, it'd be up to rec if this happens or doesn't happen, and everything comes back to the
I would
board.
say so. I mean, just my opinion, because they've already have a standing reservation with the community center.
Would it be worth talking to the group that he said talked about, to see what interest they would have in supporting it as vendors? To the meeting's tomorrow morning, 8:30. And just shop it out to see what their support would be.
See how many vendors
You know,
you're
all these
looking
businesses
at,
that they get
because
together and they get stuff done, see what, what kind
Yeah,
of people would be interested.
absolutely, yeah, I think so. It'd definitely be worth
Probably be a
it.
good idea to get out and see just what kind of,
Well, that would have some ammunition when you go to
Yeah.
rec to say, oh, we've got these 6 or 7 or 10 people that are already interested in being involved in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, I'll get back to you on that.
Both, you complement each other,
Okay, yeah.
I think it'd be very good to, withdraw, you would get some business from them, the pickleball people.
you have to remember too,
Yeah.
if they're gonna go till 10 o'clock,
Yeah.
it's gonna take some time to clean that place up, clean it out.
Clean it
It's
out.
not fair for pickleball to have to constantly be cleaning that place before they play.
Let's see what they have to say.
Okay, yeah, I'll
But,
talk
you
to
know-
them, it's just a question of talking, and, I mean, if it doesn't work, we can try for a few months. If it doesn't work, so it's no.
Or you
It
can
has-
take a look at having it out in, where the farmer's market was too. I mean, that's shaded in the summertime because there are a lot of trees there. And that might go along with them reopening a farmer's market now that you've got people that are willing to.
How many of the people that you've talked to are like, you know, maybe like small businesses, like, you know, that have like an easy up or a canopy style cover?
Some of them are vendors that they're going to different places, so they have the whole setup. Some other people are gonna be collectors or people that are selling something like personal, and those people then probably have just a table. Everyone has a canopy, but I don't know, most of the people have a canopy, so,
If you got it started outside, it would be easier to live it in the winter, I would think.
yeah, I mean, I would love to do it outside, it's just the weather, sometimes it doesn't cooperate, but we just have to come maybe with a plan B. But yeah, I would love to have it outside. If that's not a problem, you know, I will also talk to the vendors and see if we all together can come with a,
Try to get as many people signed up
Yeah.
so that we know where you are.
So outside would be also a rent involved or no?
A what?
Rent?
Rental.
Rental for the,
No, we really don't have that. That's
Yeah.
kind of a community park.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a very nice location.
it is great, I love that
Yeah.
location, yeah. Mm.
Yeah, maybe you could start that way, start outside like
Outside
that,
and then, yeah.
and see what happens,
And
because
Rec had,
that way you'd have a pretty good overview of what.
Yeah,
Rec has a list of some of the people that were there before, and I think some of them would be more than willing to come back if they had a larger venue and more people.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah. All right, well, thank you so much.
thank you. Anyone else?
That's a good idea.
That would be me. I just wanted to thank council again, because, you know, I always have it my back, or our back, I should say, Gill Ice. And we had our very first kite day on Earth Day, the 22nd. It turned out to be we asked for a little bit of wind. I think we got a lot of wind. We got a lot of wind. But we did have quite a few people come by with the kids and all, and they did manage to get some of the kites off the ground, and, you know, it was a fun day. And, of course, Rose showed up with the brand new piece of apparatus, and, you know, people wanted to see that, so they got in and took pictures, that kind of thing. And, at the end of the day, we were able to raise some funds for Rose, because we love Rose, and, we had a check for them for $250.
Oh, that's great.
Wonderful.
Very nice.
Yeah, that's what we do. That's what we do, you know, that's what we do. We love our town, and we're always here to.
And I love your shirt.
You like my shirt? Thank you.
I love
I can
it.
get you one.
I think it's great.
But yeah, so that's your life.
Front and
That's what we do. Yep, so that's it for me.
All right, thank you,
So
Mike.
keep us in mind though, because December is slowly approaching. Oh, that's what I wanted to do, mention also. If we can do it for Christmas, we do the parade and it's just growing and growing and growing. So our idea was to kind of incorporate that into Christmas and New Freedom that day, where everybody's involved. All the little towns.
That's a homework movie.
Yes, somebody said, be careful what you wish for, because you may get a phone call from Hallmark or something, but I think that would be so nice for the area.
Oh, yeah.
And start talking with the businesses and people just kind of all day, you know, doing that. So that's my focus, that's what I'm looking into now. And I know it's only.
What kind of date do you have in mind?
This year is December 2nd.
That actually sounds nice, Mary.
That's
I love it.
Yeah, so I think we'll have a lot, we've talked to quite a few people and they love it. They just think, yeah, a lot of the businesses was like, yeah, let's do this.
Great
Let's
idea,
do
great
this.
idea.
That's very cool. Yeah, thank you so much.
The Christmas tree thing would still be different.
What?
Christmas tree lighting would still be different.
Yes.
Different day, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the Lions Club, I think.
I know that, yeah, I'm just asking.
Okay, thank you.
All right, sure.
I got a quick question on the agenda here. We're gonna be talking about this amusement tax. There's somebody here. Do you wanna move it up or do you wanna wait?
Oh, there he is.
Bob's here.
The church is here too, okay. Anyone else for public comment? Okay. All right, we can do that. Let's go ahead, if no one has an objection, we could take care of the amusement tax and then talk to the church about their land development plan and then backtrack. No objections? Okay. The amusement tax, consider authorizing advertisement of an ordinance repealing the New Freedom Borough amusement tax ordinance. This originally came about because we treat nonprofits differently, and we had said that we wanted to treat everybody the same, so that's how that happened. We actually have an ordinance.
No, this is the
This is
current
just a-
ordinance.
right.
And what you have in your packet is a copy of the current ordinance as written.
So basically, I would entertain a motion to appeal,
I'll make that.
appeal,
I'll second.
chapter 199 taxation, the amusement tax. I have a first and a second discussion.
Who will make up the 20+ thousand? Who will make up the $20+ thousand if we repeal that and what we get?
I kind of had that same question. That's a lot of money to take out of the budget. And it's not really coming, I said earlier, it's not coming from NCR. It's coming from passengers. It's passed on to the passengers, I think. Is Bob here?
Yeah.
Bob, what is it, $1.50 a ticket?
No, I ran the numbers, and for an average of 2 adults and 2 children on our standard ticket, it's $4.70 that they pay.
They pay, but
The passengers, that goes to the passengers pay it. It's a separate line item, very bottom of their ticket price.
Now, you would, if this would pass, you would deduct that amount
We
from
would-
your
we
ticket
would
price?
not- That's correct. That'd reduce the price of tickets to the public.
So it's, either way, you're making the same amount of money.
Yeah.
And we're making nothing.
The train is not getting anything from it. We collect the tax, it's just like a sales tax, we collect the tax, we pass it on to the borough in monthly buckets.
Who else pays us amusement tax in New Freedom?
No one.
What is your feeling on this? I mean, I don't think you didn't really voice an opinion. You asked us last month to give you a rebate on a portion of the amusement tax, which obviously would have helped you out.
Yes, and what we did and what we've done the last 2 years with that refund that you've given to us is provided discounted rides during Freedom Fest and on our ice cream trains and other times too. During Freedom Fest, we ran trains for $10 for adults, $5 for children. And a normal ticket would be about $25 for an adult and $15 for a child. So greatly, we've used that to try to benefit the residents of New Freedom that cannot afford some of the normal ticket prices.
Did those discounted tickets go to New Freedom citizens or local citizens?
Anybody, we advertise it and it goes to anyone. But especially during Freedom Fest, it's a lot of New Freedom and New Freedom area citizens. We've also created banners saying that these rides are being subsidized or supported by the New Freedom Borough, trying to give credit back to where that money came from. So,
Will that
I
stop
think-
if they do away with the fee? If you don't get the credit, will the reduced rides stop?
I don't know. We'd have to look at it, probably. Because you know, today, we collect the tax, we submit it, and then when we do get the refund, then that basically becomes income for us that we can use, and we've always tried to use that to benefit the people of the borough.
So
If there was nothing being collected and no additional income, it'd be difficult. But we try to do things, I really push our board to try to do several events a year to benefit all the people that I see out here and the kids I see that want to ride the train and just can't afford it.
So if the price was reduced, hence you would get presumably more people, and presumably the train would be running more like it originally ran, more times. In that case, Pisano's, and on and on and on, the other restaurants and stuff would be making a profit also.
We're bringing, we
You bring
handled 16,700 passengers last year through, and we did a lot of events. We did not make a profit last year. We have not made a profit yet.
You would have a ticket reduction that would
Right,
call
but
in
the individuals
considerably more
would
people.
see a ticket reduction of 5%.
Is your board all volunteer?
Pardon? What was the question? I'm sorry.
Is your board all volunteer?
Yes, ma'am. We have 6 paid employees, full-time paid employees. Everything else is volunteers. I have over 60 volunteers. And no one on the board is compensated. We have some part-time employees. Our engineers and conductors are paid on the hours they work. And we need to do that because they have to pass FRA physicals and testing. Our engineers pass the same tests that an Amtrak engineer does. Has to be certified.
I kind of feel that we've been doing the right thing now for several years by you guys coming and we're giving you a percentage back. We don't know what's going to happen in this town. We could have something else that comes in that would have to pay an amusement tax. Once we get rid of this ordinance, that's gone, it's done. I would rather see us do what we're doing now. You come to us and we give you maybe 50% of it back at the end of the year, and if something else comes in, we still have the ability to collect an amusement tax.
And right now, the way the ordinance is written, and it's been a long time since I've looked at it, I'll be honest, but it's only for entertainment activities that last 5 days or more here in the borough. So an example is when the circus comes in and is here for 2 days, they don't pay the amusement tax, or they don't charge the amusement tax. Specifically exempted from the ordinance is the Youth Freedom Alliance Club Carnival, which lasts 5 or 6 days. Because
Maybe that's what needs to be
It's 7
changed
days.
instead.
7 days. 7 days.
Golly.
Well, no, this year it's 6,
In
Monday
the
through Saturday.
The ordinance.
Oh, okay, it's 7 days.
Yeah, I don't know how you figured this out, but wouldn't it make more sense for the out-of-town people coming in with their amusements, day, 2 days, 3 days, to pay that instead of the people that are here? You know, could the amusement tax be for people that aren't?
What do you-
We can't discriminate against someone who doesn't live here.
Disney World does.
Disney World makes their own rules, they have their own.
I'm not
What I'm saying is that he's a private business, just like Disney's a private business. So
He's a
he could
nonprofit.
charge-
He's a nonprofit business.
I mean, I tend to agree with the mayor. I mean, and I don't know how we're helping NCR by repealing this and then not giving them any money. I think it's shooting ourselves in the foot, right? Or them in the foot.
And if we have the opportunity in the future, you know, if something big comes up, that
Yeah, I
there's
think you're right.
an event that really would require, you know, an amusement tax, we won't be able to tax them. I mean, there may be some things that go on up at Summit Grove. I mean, even though you're a nonprofit, they're a nonprofit, they're expanding, there may come some events up there that, you know, we need to look at.
Is there any further discussion or anything new?
Well, in other boroughs, who pays this kind of thing? It's like in Williams Grove, is the trailer park play or the speedway or
I
something like
think you
that?
actually looked into that. There are other boroughs
I
that
have a
really.
very difficult time finding anyone in York County that assesses the amusement tax, other than if there's a mechanical device tax for jukebox or
Slot machines.
Yeah, pool table.
Not slot machines.
No, that's state.
They're specifically exempted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
I would just say, who makes up that 20+ thousand?
You don't get it anyways if you give it back.
Well, we don't get it all back.
Well,
Yeah.
unless you have the option.
We give a percentage, because it does cost us to maintain the crosswalks now and.
Parking lot that's used.
Yeah, parking lot, that's gonna have to be resurfaced sometime soon, because we're still working on that just being Billings. And that's where a lot of your people, you know, park. I really think we could utilize it for some of those things. You know, we've got a sidewalk that's gotta go in across the railroad tracks, which is gonna cost more because there are tracks there.
You want to take a vote or withdraw a motion, or what's your pleasure, people?
I'm still keeping the motion out there, so let's just do a vote.
Okay. All in favor?
I want to be clear, this is for the
The repealing of the amusement tax. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I voted no.
No.
My vote is also no. Motion does not carry. I would like to make a motion that we rebate to NCR 50% of the amusement tax for this year.
I'll second it.
2023.
I thought we were in 2022.
Didn't we do that last year?
22.
Last week?
You're saying you
You're
get
saying
both votes.
23.
Yeah, yeah.
We're preemptively doing 23.
They're not comfortable with that amount.
Sorry?
I said I'm not comfortable with that amount.
What do we do?
You don't even know what's coming in.
We need a second
I'll second
before
that.
we discuss.
Second. What did we do in 22? What percentage?
I think it might have been a third.
What?
Oh, this last.
What was it, Bob? Do you remember?
In 2022, you voted last month to give us 50%, and that was $10,200.
2015. What, that was something different?
The year before, it was a third.
Right. So last month, we voted for.
2022.
Yeah.
So we
It was
generally,
more like, yeah.
We don't have to do anything, just wait till next year and do it for 2023.
I think we should just see what comes in. I think that would be
All right,
prudent.
yeah.
And see what
Okay.
the total cost is for those crosswalks down there, because that's one of the main reasons we're doing it.
All right.
Hold on,
We know the total cost.
Yeah, the crosswalks are paid for. That was,
Yeah, that was a
grant money and,
That wasn't 100% grant, was it?
I think it was grants and ARPA.
That's correct.
It's in cost.
Both of them, Main Street and Franklin.
13,750 was rebated back last month.
Last
That was
year.
2022.
No, last month.
Oh, you mean voters?
Yeah, for 2022.
yeah,
So
some
we gave
for
13.
20.
Send back.
I guess the other question, if you were going to consider a rebate, does that mean they only remit half? Or does that mean you wait till the end of the year and then remit?
You wait.
rebate?
Yeah, I think you wait till the end of the year.
I think you just want to clarify that so
Yeah.
that they would know what to collect and not to collect when.
All right. So do we need a vote for 2023 right now?
I seconded it.
Brian did.
I think they'll come to us next year, won't you, Bob? And
I certainly
ask
will.
for the rebate.
I enjoy seeing you.
Decide.
All right.
Then we have to repeal the motion in a second.
Yeah, you just withdraw.
Then I'll withdraw in a second.
I'll withdraw and we'll table it until next year.
Thank you.
All right.
I'm okay with it.
Approval of the land development plan for an outdoor pavilion at Mason-Dixon Baptist Church.
Good evening. Blaine Markle with James R. Holly and Associates. And I guess you do all have a copy of the plan. It is a preliminary final land development plan for Mason-Dixon Baptist Church located at 713 Campbell Road. The existing property, I know you're all familiar with it, but it is just under 7 acres in size. This plan before you the purpose of it is to construct a 4,000 square foot accessory structure to the principal use, which is the house of worship there. It would be located in the very rear of the property. You've seen it, I'm sure, on the plans, in the back of the parking lots to the rear. This accessory structure is actually an outdoor pavilion, is what they're constructing. It does have 2 restroom facilities in it, one male, one female. Other improvements that we proposed with this plan were stormwater management, BMPs. We were putting in a seepage pit to control the runoff off of the roof. We have proposed sidewalks, exterior lighting on the pavilion facade face of it.
Does the seepage pit discharge somewhere?
No, it was actually
self-contained?
it was designed for a 100-year storm. So the entire storm will go into the pit, be stored, and then infiltrated throughout a period of time, acceptable to your stormwater ordinance. I know there's other ponds down slope of it and all that, but it was just talking to staff and meeting. It was just easier in this case just to put a seepage pit in right near where the outdoor pavilion would be located. So I guess just to mention, besides we are here for approval of the plan, but there are also modification requests, several modification requests that were part of this plan. There's 3 total.
Have they already gone through planning commission?
Yes, it did go through
York
plan.
County? Okay.
Yeah, your planning commission did conditionally approve the plan, and they also made a recommendation to consider the modification request. The 3 modification requests are section 510A out of your Saldo ordinance, and that was for the installation of concrete sidewalks. The thing with that is that we were just asking for a reduced area. There could be possibly some pieces put in, but we think what's out there is adequate, obviously, since the existing use is there anyway. We are extending, though, also some sidewalk connections from the actual church to the outdoor pavilion, just to make it better. The second modification request was section 511A, installation of concrete curbs. And again, that's reduced area of installation also. As you probably know, the concrete curbing comes into play, especially what's out there now. All of the parking lot facilities are curbed, and the reason for that was adequate stormwater management, collection, and conveyance. So I think with that, we should be decent. I mean, all the curbing's out there. And then the third modification request was section 524A4, and that is payment of a recreational fee. And we really didn't feel that that pertained to this type of a plan. Since the principal use is currently already there, it just kind of doesn't make sense. We're not creating anything new, we're just adding an accessory structure. That was the 3.
Purpose of the structure is recreation.
Right, exactly.
It is private, yeah.
So really, that is it. If you have any questions for me, or I do have all also the general contractor is here for the project, if there'd be any specific questions, but other than that, I think it's a fairly simple plan.
Does anyone have any questions?
The inner packet we got from the planning commission, what they're, what's the,
Sorry again?
we've got, in our packet here, we've got what the planning commission already reviewed.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the plans.
We had talked about a 6-month note. On the
Well,
bid.
I guess that would be part, yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Andy. So the modification request for the first two, the installation of concrete curbing and the installation of curb and sidewalks, both of those, we did add on the plan the 6-month note. Staff had recommended that go along with it, just in case the borough at some point in time would decide, you know what, maybe we should have a little section of sidewalk here, or if we need another little section of curbing here. That was just kind of, hopefully, and I think the planning commission looked at it that way, that was a little bit more reassurance for them granting the approval of those waivers or modifications.
What would be the purpose of that?
Basically, usually typical when you're doing a land development plan, it doesn't really impact your direct driving lanes in this case, if it's the improvements to the back of the property. So if at any point in the future the borough were to ask the church to install curb and sidewalk along Campbell or Veterans Drive, the 6-month note is that we would give them notice and they would have 6 months to put in the improvements.
Understand, okay.
It's pretty standard when you're looking at plans like this.
Make a motion to approve the plan. Second.
Motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I abstained.
My vote is aye.
Thank you.
Should put a little form there.
You not separately approve the modifications?
Would you rather see it that way?
I generally, most municipalities do approve the modifications, but that's, we can,
It was all presented in this one.
I understand that, but most municipalities will adopt, they will act on each one of the modifications as requested. Or total, yeah. If you approve the modifications as presented in the plan as presented, maybe that.
Plan with modifications.
Yes.
So we can say his motion is clarified.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Perfect, thank you.
Sorry, Blaine. Just to make sure we got it on there.
That's good.
Thanks. Okay. We'll get them all.
Thank you.
Okay, approval of minutes from the meeting April 10th. I would entertain a motion. Questions?
Was there,
I need a motion to approve the minutes from April
I
10th.
make a motion that we approve the minutes from April 10th, 2023. Second.
Motion and a second. Discussion, corrections?
I would like an addition under the approval of minutes that I took an action to request that my statement read on the March 13th, 2023 meeting was requested to be included and denied.
Where do you want that added?
And where it says I was a nay vote to the approval of the minutes last month, but it doesn't say that I requested that my statement that I read in March 13th, 2023 be included in the minutes. That's why my vote was no, so I want that, my action was denied, so I want that in the minutes, please.
Anything else? Do we we can add the note.
I was saying, I need to amend it then.
I'm asking. That's okay.
So you just want the reason?
Yeah, it was an I asked an action
All
to
right,
be
so I'll
taken.
amend my motion to add the change from Erica.
All right. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? My vote is aye. Treasurer's report? Questions? Oh. I would entertain a motion to approve the treasurer's report pending audit.
So moved.
A motion and a second. Any have questions submitted?
Yeah, is there a typo here that Crescent Industry, it says Crescent got a permit for a yard sale? When I see Crescent, I think Crescent Industries. I don't remember where it was, but that I did mark, I know it stood out in my monthly
On page
revenue.
3. Kim, it's on page 3.
Page 3. Thank you. Was that an error, or did they? Permit, yeah, permit.
Yard sale permit for $5,
Yeah.
standard yard sale permit.
It says Crescent. Can we just pass it with, and say you're gonna look into it? Yeah.
Is that the location, and,
Could be the
because it
location.
looks like your sale permits are like 9/11 in court down below.
Yeah.
There, I believe there was one for across there, but I have to verify.
Did you have any other questions from council?
There's a question on page 10, which is $840 from Shrewsbury Township. That is the turn back for roads that the borough maintains. That's part of the turn back agreement. That was approved a while back. And that money was received annually. There's a question on page 12 regarding the animal control payment. That is paid annually. That's basically for animal control services throughout the borough, if needed. That's basically a retainer.
When did we elect him? Didn't the council have to elect?
It's not an elected
It's a
position.
her, and you.
No, it isn't.
It's an
Kim
appointment.
Erdman's made it. I know.
Shrewsbury
He
Borough
belongs,
approves theirs
he
every year.
belongs to the Kim, I belong to the Kim, Southern York County Kim Club. Yeah, I didn't know where he came from, because all of a sudden, we didn't have him before.
Yeah,
I think we have.
Yeah, it's the same person, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah.
I didn't think we.
It's recorded in
I
our
had
directory
asked.
as well.
Okay, I had asked
Yeah, I don't remember the name, but I've never seen
before.
it
Where
before.
a constituent and couldn't find it. Okay,
There's questions about the storage, page 12, that's a storage container for Public Works. It's over at the Public Works facility. There was a question on page 11 for tasteful occasions. They did pay for the entire year, which is recorded. There was a question on the cost for the monthly cameras in the park. That's $175 per month for maintenance and monitoring. There was a cost about the cost to date for the storage space that's was constructed at the community center as part of the lease modifications and trying to move some things around. Cost to date is $1,247.91.
Is that storage area done?
Other than getting painted and the net.
Doors on? Doors weren't on.
The doors need to be thrown in.
Yeah. And you guys are gonna put the net above?
Yes.
But we used a stonemason for that. He had to charge more than that, didn't
Well,
he?
the question was cost to date.
Oh, okay, so we didn't pay him yet. We didn't submit a bill.
Right.
He hasn't, so he hasn't submitted the bill?
Correct.
So, what was it, 12, was it 50?
Yeah, round it up.
1247.91, yeah.
I believe that was it.
Any other questions we didn't discuss?
Yeah, is CIA a member of CoStarz?
Oh, for the,
For the install, the access
Yeah.
control?
yeah, they are.
Because it's over the bid threshold.
Right.
Okay. That's what I was wanting to know. I thought they were, but thank you.
All right, call for a vote. All in favor of approving treasurer's report pending audit, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye. Let's take this out. Okay, Marge Goodfellow Park improvements. It was previously tabled. We now do have a proposal for the study. If I remember correctly, I think it's a $63,000 study, and we have to pay $13,000 for it. The rest it'll be a grant.
But what are they studying? Because we didn't determine what we were gonna do.
That's the point.
That's the point of the study. They're gonna interview people, and they're going to,
Yeah, if you read through, you'd see that that's basically part of the process. This is taken from
Yeah, I got a little detoured this.
the DCNR protocols for feasibility studies, master site.
this is actually, I mean, this is necessary to get the grant money.
Okay.
So,
All right, I was just.
The 35,000 from Burkentine. That's coming from, is that coming from the pavilion they were gonna build? They're gonna put it towards this now? Is it separate? Where is it?
That's correct, yeah. It's from, originally from what their land development plan called for was construction of a,
They pledged in their development agreement to pay $35,000 towards the construction of the pavilion. Andy has asked them to shift that to the feasibility study to pay. Is that correct, Andy?
yeah,
And
basically.
it's how much?
$35,000.
Theirs is 35? Okay.
So there's no more pavilion from Burkentine if this is approved?
Well,
Is that right?
it could be if we.
Well, it's not.
Basically,
Right now, it's not.
$35,000 is used toward the feasibility study, not toward the pavilion.
And basically, that's to open up additional grant opportunities and actually have a dedicated plan to the improvements that need to take place and what the community wants.
yeah, and that doesn't preclude us building a pavilion from the grant money. It's just a different way to get it.
The study committee that will be assembled by the borough, who will those people be? And who will, in the borough, will assemble it?
It'd be assembled by borough council and it's, yeah, it's up to whoever council would like to assist with that process.
I would think it would at least be 2 people from rec.
I believe that's noted in there.
Yeah, I think I didn't see it somewhere. I can't find it though.
Unconfuse me. I know we had originally a contract with Burkentine.
No, you don't have a contract with Burkentine, it's noted in their land development.
What's the difference?
Well, in fairness, I think the development agreement does say $35,000 toward the
Yes, because I know we were questioning that and you found it.
pavilion.
Right.
The old one.
The old one. No, am I right, though?
I believe the old one did say $35,000.
For a pavilion.
Okay.
But you're at, there's.
So we
Andy's
can
proposing
just
we change that.
arbitrarily switch that to,
They've agreed to it, so Borough Council would have the right to change that, to spend $35,000 on the feasibility study. That's, I think, the ask this evening, correct?
Well, yeah, the ask is to, in fact, I probably should have gotten a first and a second, but, yes. Anyway, I would entertain a motion to approve the warehouse feasibility study for Large Goodfellow Park.
I'll make that motion.
First and a second. Is there any further discussion?
This is for rec and everything, and now we're in a partnership. Does Shrewsbury Township have any cost in this?
No, because their facility's owned by New Freedom Borough. However, being part of the regional recreation and having these plans and studies in place greatly increases the chance of additional rate.
And then under C for existing facility assessment, it says things were taken out such as the 3-year history of operating expenses, revenues, fee structure, just all kinds of things that sound pretty relevant into looking into this. I was kind of confused why all those were taken out, to see what type of buildings you want to have up. Wouldn't that be relevant info?
It is, however, the rental income from those buildings is so minimal. And I mean, your expenses are routine maintenance along with mowing and landscaping, so there's really not a lot of useful, it's gonna be so skewed at that point.
I think the
Because it's
important
offered
thing
as
is, yeah, the important thing is to find out what people feel that they want. Draw it up and go see if we can get the money.
I know we had a lot of people that knew that Burkentine was gonna build a pavilion, because it was on the original, plan, site plan. And I'm just, I mean, that pavilion could all go to, in a handbasket real quick if we don't put that in ourselves as a part of what we want. And to pull that $35,000 out, that's just basically saying, then we're gonna have to pay as a borough, as taxpayers, $35,000 to build a new,
Right, but at that point, it becomes 6 of one, half dozen of the other.
well, is it? We're not guaranteed that a pavilion is even gonna go in now.
Okay, then, I mean, we're gonna spend that money either way, potentially. That's only if people decide they want a pavilion. I also look at Freedom Green and I don't see that pavilion being utilized.
Apparently, we've already decided we want a pavilion, or it wouldn't have been put in the
I think that's what they proposed to do.
contract. We asked them to do that because they tore down the old cook shack. And that's kind of been a lion's line of contention.
Just on the old cook shack. The old cook shack was condemned.
Just wasn't cared for. Yeah, had to be.
Well, there were quite a bit of piecemeal that was done by organizations in the community, which is why it was in the condition it was.
There's a number of years where they just talked about it. And you go back and look at.
Oh, yeah, you go back
Yeah.
10 or more years.
Talk about 15 years. It's crazy. Anyway, under the compensation, it talks about does not include reimbursable expenses or any other fees that may be required by the township for permit submission.
You guys have this part, should be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and plus, there wouldn't be any permits needed for this phase.
I'm just going on what they put here. So that should be Borough.
Why would you need a permit for a feasibility study?
That's not my wheelhouse. I'm only going on what these people put in the report.
Standard language.
I'm asking because it's here. That's-
Okay, it was asked and answered, so.
Thank you.
Next question.
Assuming this gets passed, I'd be,
I'm
I'd
sorry?
volunteer, assuming this gets passed, I'd volunteer to be on it, the committee.
What's that?
Assuming this gets passed, I'm volunteering to be on the committee.
Got it. Yes,
Just
sir.
a reminder that this came out of citizen concerns about ADA accessibility in the park. It came out of concerns for new buildings. It came out of concerns about pickleball, about construction of a pavilion that was just, everything's just getting cookie cutter placed around the park without a plan, without a vision of what that's supposed to look like. So it's not just something that was thought up. All those concerns that have, and people that have been coming to council and have formulated this into a feasibility study to understand what the improvements are needed and what the plan is for the future and what the residents of New Freedom would like to see in March Goodfellow Park.
Yeah.
So it's not just randomly pulled from somewhere. This is everything that we've heard over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and it's a big step, but it is the next
Well,
logical step.
I just want to make it clear, when I brought this up, I did thank you bring that up over a year ago, and I was just okay with crush and run down there for the ADA, for the people that have the wheelchairs, the prosthetics, the strollers. That's, and it's, you know, morphed into this. I just think we need to live within our means and the times, and I just think this is a bit more than what could be done to make it accessible for everybody. So I was just asking about putting crush and run down.
Well, I'm not, is crush and run ADA compliant?
Once it gets rolled out and the water can go through it and, you know, or even put grass
Once
down
it
or
gets rolled out, the
something.
water doesn't go through it.
I've been told
So-
that that's impervious surface,
It is.
so.
Excuse me, when Sherry was here and she has a prosthetic, she said she could not really walk on the crush and run, and sometimes the grass was just as bad.
Yeah, and I know a wheelchair would be almost
Yeah.
impossible to push a wheelchair on it.
Let's put blacktop down around that whole area.
Andrew, the 63,000 for the study, and you said it was gonna cost us 13,000, but yet we're asking Burkentine to pay part of that out of the 35,000. So how much, if we don't ask Burkentine to pay, how much would it cost the borough?
It would be, I mean, if you would proceed with the study, it would be 48,000.
Yeah.
And it's also noted here that fees are not included here, so it very likely would be above the 13,000. Would be the responsibility of the client and are not included in our estimated costs for professional services.
I'm sorry, I missed, what did you say was not included?
Fees on, I guess, page 7, you know, such as application fees, permit fees, review fees, impact fees, et cetera, aren't in here and are the responsibility of the client. So that's likely more fees on top of the 13.
I think most of those would be waived because it would be from the borough.
Well, again, as I said, I appreciate you pointing those out, that standard language that's in there, but for a study, we wouldn't be actually making an application or submitting anything to any regulatory agencies. So it wouldn't apply here if they leave it in the standard language just to protect themselves, but I understand what you're pointing out. They would have to come back to get approval at that point as well.
$48,000 seems like a lot of money for a study to find out what we should put in the park.
Yeah.
It is.
It is a lot of money,
A lot.
but
In this
When we
time,
already had
It's
drawings
not a
that
money.
we had never even really looked at or voted on.
I think those were conceptual drawings from what I remember.
yeah.
If-
Well, they
if I
were,
remember
we-
correctly,
and
then
we
that's-
kept tabling them.
And you're not going to get grant money if you don't do the study. They just,
Yeah.
you're not gonna, I mean, it'd be very unlikely if you would get grant money. I won't say you won't, because I guess you could fill out an application, but I don't think you're gonna get grant money if you don't do the study. That's part of the process. It's kind of like the rec director. I mean, we have to check off all these boxes to get a rec director.
The study covers you legally in some ways, doesn't it, too?
Yeah.
With,
Yeah, plus there are things that people want to see. I know rec has ideas for the park that they would like to see implemented, but there's no money to do that. So the grant money would give them the money to maybe put in the things that they want to see. So, you know.
So we have the motion? We
have a motion and a second. Calling for the vote, sir?
Calling for the vote.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
My vote is aye.
That makes sense.
Sign regulation.
I've been extremely short-handed last month, I gotta get that drafted, I apologize. But between vacations and sick time, been pretty much on my own.
But you promised we're gonna
I
get
know.
next month. Stormwater channel on North Constitution.
The second application was submitted. We did receive notification today from York County Conservation District that the erosion and sediment control plan was approved. However, we still need to wait for that joint permit from DEP and Army Corps of Engineers.
And there's no idea when.
When they get around to it.
Pretty much.
When they get around to it. Okay, tennis and basketball court repair quotes. This is all co-stars, right?
The material was? Am I correct that you can't do the labor? Did I misread that?
Yeah, the material is purchased.
Co-stars.
Did we by chance know when the last time the basketball court was done? Because I don't think it was done the last time the tennis courts were done.
Basketball court's never been done.
It's what?
The basketball court was never done, that's still the original surface.
Yeah.
Is this the same substance to redo it
This
that's
is the-
currently there?
This is the company that installed it first.
Yeah. Mhm.
Same material?
Yes.
So, Andy, this says it's prevailing wage rates excluded, unless they are provided prior to our proposal. If it's $27,000, we have to charge prevailing wage.
Right. That's the, even though it's co-starts with material, it still kicks in.
Yeah, it doesn't matter, if the
Right.
project cost is 25 or more, you're paying for it with public funds, it has to include prevailing wage rates. So it's just not clear whether it's included or not, based on that.
And you've just decided to do this master plan. How do we know that these tennis courts won't be moved in this plan? They need to, go elsewhere, the basketball court needs to go elsewhere, and we're gonna dump
Yeah, that's, oh my God, they were just
30
just
plus
new, what,
thousand
4
on
years
this
ago,
one,
3
and-
years ago.
That was for water. That wasn't
It's
for.
just brought up.
I can't imagine.
Because the cracks on the court were brought up a year ago, I believe I brought that up. And I'm just not so sure, and included in here, it says the cracks will be closed but not necessarily leveled. And then in the fine print, it says cracks are normally a yearly maintenance issue and carry no warranty. So we're gonna be spending tens of thousands a year to do cracks on this court. I think we need to look at a different material to use. I believe the courts that were there for a very long time that didn't have these issues, in conjunction with now this feasibility study that's going forward. Where's that court gonna be in 2 years? It's gonna be in the same spot.
We talked to Mary Ann about what she wants to see on the courts.
She hadn't.
No
She hadn't.
pickleball lines. I can tell you that, no pickleball lines.
Yeah.
As far as surface, I think she hasn't said anything against what's currently there. Or at least hasn't mentioned to me.
I guess the first thing we need to do is figure out if they've got prevailing wages in here, because because we might be looking at a bid that's not.
Well, it's, as solicitor said, it does say prevailing weights are excluded.
What's the
Yeah,
high
I
school,
don't think
what's the
that
high
the
school
bidder-
use?
Legally, we can't do that.
Sorry?
I couldn't tell you, I've been over those courts in a long time.
Have you
Yeah,
asked the high school what they use?
But they have a lot of new materials, you know, where you don't have cracks, you know, like where they take, they use in Europe, they grind up
Why not
glass
a
and, you
concrete
know what I mean?
surface?
Different material, because this is awfully high, just, you know, to fill the cracks and do all that. Let's look at some different material that has a longevity, you
What about
know, that
concrete
they're using
surface?
in other places.
I can't believe that Mary Ann hasn't,
This is,
doesn't have access to information on.
We have to
I
really
can ask
study
her.
that.
Yeah. Could
I
you
mean,
do
this
that?
is, no, this is.
Because I think really at the rec meetings, it was just brought up that, yes, there are cracks, but not that we were to the point of doing this and asked her what she thought.
Has there ever been a determination on what caused the cracks? Is it
Yeah.
settlement of
It's
the
just
whole?
age.
Yeah, is it?
We're past
and
the warranty.
material, and the
You-
material.
Because sometimes, you know, cracks are water-based, sometimes it's tectonic plate-based. You know, if it's a
Yes.
separation, that's a,
Separation.
so that's a
Yeah.
withdrawal of the product that's,
Yeah.
that makes the top the port.
There's
You
no,
know,
I think,
just
I think
do
two,
that.
two things before we could vote on this. We have to figure
Yeah,
out about
yeah.
prevailing wages, and we have to figure out what Mary Ann recommends for a surface on the tennis court. If there is anything better, and I guess
Yeah,
we probably have a source
maybe
for
she
that
knows
too,
what
right?
they have over at Susquehannock that
They
might
have
be
lots
better.
and lots of material. Good
I'll ask her.
material.
Yeah. So why don't we table this until
Yeah.
we get the answers to those two questions?
I know
Yeah.
she would know because the ball reacts different on different surfaces, so.
Okay. Approval land development plan for the solar array.
They withdrew their appearance only a couple hours ago. They need to make a couple revisions.
Okay.
And not revisions outside of what was recommended by both planning commissions. These are just to clean the plan up.
Is everything
Yeah, they don't have to come back yet.
Right.
It's basically, they just need to get the changes done. Didn't have enough time to get those completed. So that'll be on, we did get a letter, extension letter from them because that has to be pushed off.
Okay. Public Works purchase request. What was the original budget?
for the backhoe?
120,000 was included in the 2023 budget.
And is that inside that 500,000 line item? Or-
It's separated out in the capital reserve fund.
I couldn't find backhoe listed.
Yeah, it's in the capital reserve fund.
What is the current process of turning these valves?
You guys want to talk about that?
Right here.
we do have a gas operated, that we got from LB Water. It's fine, but it throws you around sometimes because you're trying to turn some of these valves that are pretty hard. You gotta be steady with it, so this machine here would do all the work. Plus the other thing is with the Vector, with this lead and copper that's coming up, we might be going to people's properties and have to excavate down to their services to determine if they have lead service lines. DEP wants they want pictures. They aren't gonna say, they aren't gonna take your word for it. So it either means you dig with a backhoe and you dig up a big hole, or we could use this Vector and do like a 12-inch circle and go straight down, be able to get it exposed, take a picture of it, fill it back up. Homeowner's happy, it's less work.
So I guess my question was, how have we done without it for 150 years?
Which, the valve machine? Well, we did have an old valve machine, but it wore out, so we got rid of that.
Is that what was called the valve exerciser? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So the old one wore out.
So this machine's more versatile. It has more functions than what
3 machines out that we got rid of or that no longer work. It takes its place. Say your curb box, your valve in your yard is off center, we can't get on it. Before we'd have to dig up, like Donnie said, we'd have to dig up the big area. And when we're in your front yard, digging up your whole yard, you're gonna be upset. This is a hydro excavator, smaller area, you can get the job done. We can take that out on a water leak, use that instead of the backhoe. Our backhoe is 1987, 1985.
Approximately how big of a, is it like a core?
Yeah.
That you would go down, that's approximately how big?
It's got a suction tube, 3-4 inch, 2 inch.
Okay.
Different size nozzles that we can put on it.
And it places all that dirt right back in?
No, it sucks it out into a tank.
Okay.
And then obviously, I mean, you're doing hydro excavating, so you're gonna have a pressure wand as well. Clean out our valve boxes in the streets, rainwater, road debris, get in there. It can be used for that. But the major thing now is this lead and copper deal. And that is coming up like on our doorstep here.
Plus with this machine, the GIS that we're getting implemented into the borough, this all was in that machine. So you'd be able to list all your valves, how many turns, everything would be all going through that with the system that we're getting.
So this machine is in lieu of the backhoe, correct?
Yes.
For now.
For now.
You're on borrowed time with your backhoe.
More time. When you say near future, what does that mean, DEP?
For the next 2 years.
I'm working
2
on the
years?
inventory right now. It's due in October of '24. They have not told us when we have to have everything verified yet.
There's different phases of that process, and
Yeah.
they have to, I mean,
That verification could be in November of 2024. We don't know.
How many people on that, because I got the questionnaire filled out, sent it back, got a questionnaire about filling out information regarding what kind of service they have.
Everyone in the borough, every service, every homeowner or resident, building owner should have gotten that survey or should be getting that survey.
But they only can see, like I can, and I know what the rest of it is, where it comes through the wall. I mean, they could have
Yeah,
galvanized the wall.
You could
plastic,
have
things
an
like that.
inch, or you could have a couple inches coming through your wall that you can see.
Right.
That's what we're looking for, is just the homeowner's input of, hey, it's copper or it's plastic. You know, I'm going off of records that were hand-drawn from 1939. I have an old composition book over there that's penciled in from Doc Abauer, you know, an old timer in town here. I'm just looking for information to help me compile this report, and that's what that survey's for.
And what we can't see inside the house, that means you have to go outside the yard and just excavate out the yard to determine what it is.
So when you get this information from all the homeowners, that goes into the GIS system, right?
Well, it goes into the
What it may
database
not-
that gets handed into DEP.
But that also
It
went
can
to the
be-
GIS system though,
Yes.
when we list everything, yeah.
and ultimately it's gonna be replaced. If it's the wrong stuff.
If it's the wrong stuff, yeah, it's gotta be.
Yeah, it's gonna say the owner has to pay for that thing, right, to replace?
Well,
We're not
that's-
sure how that works
yeah, I
yet.
don't know
Yeah, they
how
have
to
I was gonna
word
say,
that.
it's gonna be a big bill for
I
some of
mean-
these people in those very
Well-
old houses.
You're looking at some communities that, you know, in the United States probably have a lot in, so the government's gonna maybe help pay for some of that. I don't know what they're gonna do, like for us, if we have
God,
two,
it's-
if we have 2 services, I don't know if they're gonna give us money for 2 services, so.
I mean, it's a good idea, but I mean,
So you're gonna go around to what? Almost every home in the borough?
We have the information from.
Every house in the
yeah,
borough
everyone that has a
to
water
utilize this?
Yes.
Okay, once you're done, what are we gonna do with this thing?
It still has the valve turning machine on it,
Exercise
and we can
valves.
still use it for water leaks. We've had water mains already where we've had to dig around the gas, the electric, and everything else, and you're hand digging it. It's a lot easier if you have a
Okay, so
backer
it's
there.
not gonna just sit in the garage
Yeah,
after that?
Well, how often is it used, though?
The valve machine? Or the
This
backer?
$89,000 piece of equipment?
Probably the same as like we use our crack sealer, like we just use a couple, you know, a month out of the year, you're gonna have your valve machine out.
So-
First you have to, I'm trying to get some personnel too, so we
Uh-huh.
need personnel to run the machines too. So,
Well, I thought when we got rid of the mowing, that's what the people were taking over, turning of the valves.
And we got rid of 3 employees in that matter of time too, so I'm still trying to get employees back so we can get back on the schedule.
How many do you have right now?
We have 2 guys, plus me and Jake.
I mean, this is
Four
a
total?
tour that they're going to
Before, we
use
used to have
for
6
multiple,
people, we used to have 6
things.
people
It's
in our
not
department.
like,
You have 6 people down at the treatment plant.
Has anybody approached another municipality to see if they
Well-
need one and if we could
Well,
go and join?
We
them?
already went down that
We
road.
did that.
I don't.
With the street sweeper?
No, with the valve turning machine.
We met with Stewartstown and we demoed 2 units. Stewartstown had in their mind, their authority had in their mind that they wanted a certain machine. They went and bought that machine. We sat down with them, pros and cons of both machines.
How
I
about
mean, we did our due diligence.
Well, how about
So why
Shrewsbury?
can't we borrow theirs?
It's not a unit that, I mean, for an emergency situation, and this was one of the cons things, was 2 o'clock in the morning. Do I call Ira up and is he gonna get out of bed and unlock his machine for me to use? And then it's gonna take me a half an hour to run to Stewartstown, hit the machine, bring it back. At that point in time, we could have had our unit fired up and out there and been halfway through the job. It was just too much, it was too many cons in sharing a piece of equipment like this with another municipality. You have the maintenance, you have who's gonna store it, who's gonna maintain it, when it breaks, who's gonna be the blame for it breaking or fixing it.
He's paying the insurance.
Yeah, who's paying all the stuff for it?
If you go in with another municipality, you split all
But
that.
we tried that.
We tried that,
We tried that,
nobody
we
could
tried
come.
splitting with Shrewsbury Borough and Stewartstown Borough, and the guys had meetings with them. We had it actually in our budget, if you recall, that we were gonna split the cost of that piece of equipment 3 ways. And through this whole process, one of those said they weren't really interested, the other one went out and purchased one.
Shrewsbury?
Shrewsbury.
What does Shrewsbury use, or what are they gonna use?
That I don't know.
But you talked to Brian.
Yeah.
Oh, he has
And
a
he's
valve,
not
he has a
interested.
valve turning machine. He doesn't have the vector though.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's multifunctional. We will use it more than 1 month out of the year. I mean, if I have the guys, I can have 2 guys out there going back on stuff from the late 80s, early 90s that was never fixed correctly. And right now, I just don't have the time to do it. It's working, it's getting the job done, fortunately it's.
The question is, for how long?
Exactly. So this is something that it's gonna be put to use.
And this is a time-saving device too. It's not, I mean, it decreases your manpower requirements. You might be able to do a repair with less people, cut down on overtime.
What's the life of the equipment?
Something like that? Oh, I
89,000?
think we'd probably at least get 20 to 30 years out of
30 years.
it, easily.
Is there any additional cost for any kind of training or anything that needs to happen?
I don't think so, because I believe Exeter sends a guy down to go over it. I mean, we've demoed the thing twice. It's really not that hard to use.
Okay.
And if we were to get it, they would have a gentleman come down and go over it with us. They've
Yeah,
already
everything
told us
is-
that they,
Yeah, we have service closer in the area with Stewartstown, but everything's over in New Jersey
Yeah.
as far as fixing it. Which I don't feel like going to New Jersey to take a piece of equipment to get it fixed.
And the one that they bought, I think the prices were comparable, but it was chintzier makeup manufacturer-wise. It was not as maneuverability for the arm to go out. It just wasn't there.
How many valves are there to turn?
I think that goes to 400.
400 valves,
Yeah.
main valves. And those are anywhere from 4-inch valves to 12-inch valves, which if you have a 6-inch valve, you're looking at 20 turns, going around and around and around, down and coming back up. And some of them are very, very hard to turn.
Are you adding in hydrant valves, or is that?
That can be, that's the hydrant valves? I believe that's just the main valves.
Yeah, it's just.
That's not the hydrant valves included.
Most of the hydrants get a shut-off valve.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of them do. And
So
then
those have to be
also,
operated too, so, and this has an adapter on it,
Yeah.
you can operate the hydrants too. Where you can, physically oil them and work on make them work smoother. But you're not physically there trying to turn them.
Is there a smaller model of this machine that is not so costly, not the Cadillac model,
well, this isn't the Cadillac model.
No.
It looked like it when I looked it up. Watched that video, I mean, 89,000 isn't a chump change.
I think it's great, but I'm just thinking of the times that we're living in, and what happens when you find damage and the people can't afford to have it fixed, and, I'm thinking along those lines. So I'm thinking, how often do you kind of anticipate using this machine? That's what, I agree with her, if there's a smaller machine is, more cost efficient, or maybe if we can really have an agreement with some of these other boroughs.
Well, let me put it in
I'm just thinking
perspective.
of the times.
If
I
we,
think it's great.
if we don't maintain our system,
Yeah,
we will have a failing system. Your water rates will go through the roof,
yeah,
and then you're gonna be sitting there complaining that
yeah.
you can't pay that bill. People are dropping $80,000 and $90,000 on a car right now. I'm asking for one piece of equipment
Yeah.
that's
Well,
gonna help us out greatly in keeping our system the way that it is, if not better.
Yeah,
Because maintenance has been lacking
yeah.
in the previous management.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, it's wonderful. It makes a lot of sense and everything. I'm only thinking, the times that we're living in right now. I'm an old bag, I'm thinking that way. But, maybe we can work on the price a little bit.
On the freight.
I agree.
I'm just afraid to spend all
Only
this.
4,000 on freight.
I agree that we gotta be worried about money, but to me, this is an infrastructure
It's
of
great.
New Freedom
It's
Day.
great. Yeah, I agree.
This is infrastructure, so parks are fun, tennis courts are fun, this is our infrastructure.
Oh, I agree
Waters
with you.
are, I'm in the business, so I'm all about machinery, and you don't wanna cut a corner and get something to where you get you 60% there. Just get something that's gonna do the job, do it right, do it for a long time. That's how
Listen, I agree with you. I think it really, because it is the future, I'm just worried how if there is big damage, I'm talking.
I get it, I get it.
That's all I'm thinking.
I know where they're coming from, and giving them tools is
True. We don't.
That's all. I mean, I agree, and I don't.
I would entertain a motion to allow the Public Works budget shift from the backhoe to the valve turning machine for a total cost of $89,051.
So moved.
Second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any other discussion that's not been said before?
What, do you know what the delivery time is for this?
There's gonna be some build time on it, so that's why we wanted to get it in and get it started. I'm not sure what the build,
Okay.
they said it's gonna take a couple of months.
Oh,
So,
Can't we get a used one?
Buying somebody else's junk.
Well, I don't know.
yeah, something like that, I'd be a little leery on buying something like that, especially a machine like
I
that.
mean, I just gotta make a statement. I mean, we're second guessing our public works people who are the experts in this, who keep our water running and safe to drink.
And they've kept a backhoe running since the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing since
Yeah,
the-
What's the warranty on this, Donnie? What kind of warranty
Probably
is
has like
it?
a,
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a year, 30 years.
I'm not 100%
I'm
sure
not
what
sure,
it is.
I have to ask.
It's
Year?
$4,400.
What is
30
it
years.
normally, like 3
How much?
years? or-
$4,400 a year.
What's that?
If it's gonna last 20 years, it's $4,400 a year.
Okay, that sounds a little bit better to me.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
That way, if you break it down like that, no, I think it's wonderful.
So I'm gonna say call for the vote, please.
Call for the vote.
Call for the vote.
I have a call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
My vote is aye. Motion carried.
Really?
Really what?
You just said of course.
I said, of course.
I'm sorry?
Somebody out there said,
Me.
of course not.
Yeah, she
Well, that
went way
was
back.
not kind.
Oh, no comment.
Okay. Where did I leave off here? Public Works, there we go, okay. Low bid from Kinsley Construction for the 2023 street improvement project in the amount of $154,400. Is that it? No, that's not it. Yeah. I lost it somewhere in the mess here. Is that it? Okay.
Bid tab at the top.
Do we not get the streets that it's for?
I'm sorry?
Do we not get the streets that it's for?
work on Mason Moore Road and South Front Street.
I do have, I guess a separate question. Warwick Road, down by the bike trail. There's a manhole where I guess the concrete has settled around it. We have to go about 5 miles an hour to go over it. Could we have that looked at?
It's a sewer manhole?
The size of the sewer manhole.
And if it's settling around the sewer manhole, that would be sewer department's repair, so I'll get in touch with that.
I would entertain a motion to approve the road paving project at the low bid of $154,450.
So moved.
I have a motion and a second. Discussion?
You know, how, I know you know, or I know Andy knows, what our liquid fuel tax amount is that we get annually?
I
Ballpark.
think this year was 152,000. So we'll be pulling, I believe we're pulling 100,000, I have to look at the budget, 100,000 from liquid fuels and 50,000 from general fund.
So in looking at this, between Kinsley and Long's Asphalt, they're pretty, some of these are just wildly, 16,300 for one and 4,800 for another. 13,400 for one and 9,200 for another. Can't we take some from Kinsley and some from Long?
Yeah, total project.
Total project.
They do it all the time, Erica. I mean, somebody will have one item loaded up and somebody else will have peanuts for it because maybe they think they're gonna be more of this item than another item. It happens all the time. But you can't pick
You
so
can't
much
have
from
people
cow
coming in
from
and
this
out,
one.
doing the work.
It does seem like a big difference, but agreed.
On like number 9, I thought we have a crack sealer. Is that the same thing, sealing cracks for 9?
That's base course, that's, after they,
Yeah.
Well, no, that
That goes
would, base
underneath
course
it,
would be in,
goes the width of the road. Is that correct?
not for,
The base?
base course is what's underneath your wearing course.
right.
So that's not what we use our machine for?
Well, yeah, we use it for cracks, but this here, they're just sealing the seam that's against the other road.
Yeah.
So if they seal it, then that's their baby, not ours. If we seal it, something happened to the road, then they can say, well, you didn't seal it right. And then we spent $154,000 a month.
Well, we can't jump in the middle of their project
No.
and do
Right.
part of the work.
They're just
It's not a-
finishing the work that they're doing, and they're just matching up, their seams to their other roads, and that's what they're sealing. It doesn't take that much to do, that's just part of the job.
My father-in-law used to say, my rate is $50 if I do the job, $75 if you watch, and $100 if you help. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? My vote is aye. Solicitor's report.
I don't really have anything to report. We're trying to finish that, so.
Manager's report for April.
Everybody has a copy of the April 2023 Manager's Report. If there's any questions on that report, I can answer them, but because of the interest of time, I'm not going to go down and read through everything.
I like that we were able to send the drinking water report out with the newsletter, that's, because we're doing that anyway, so had to do that.
Yes, was that mailed? Because I know I didn't get one.
What, the
Where
borough?
was it mailed?
Last week?
Yeah.
I think I got it beginning of last
You
week.
guys get yours? I never
I got
got
it.
one.
No, I looked at it online, but I haven't seen it in the mail yet.
Hey,
Yeah.
I got two.
Huh?
Ours came Saturday.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Saturday.
Yeah, I got mine.
Yeah.
New Freedom News is great, by the way.
Yeah.
Implementation of a system to handle all facility rentals and recreational programming. Is that going to be done by the rec director?
That'll be in place before they start, but that'll be basically for all of our facility rentals and programming. And we might be able to utilize that for some other events and registrations that are upcoming. But that'll transition into utilization by the recreation director.
Any other questions? I have nothing, Mr. Mayor.
Police report, we did get this in today. I haven't even had a chance to really look at it. Really seems like our incidents have gone up, not that everybody else's hasn't. I do think we have to, apparently they're doing a good job. I see some things being done that weren't done before. Take a look at it. You've got all the financial, we're doing pretty good. Unfortunately, we are still short a man. We're gonna be short a man for some time. We have a new hire. He's accepted his rate, passed all of his exams up at the academy. He's currently on payroll for training and working part-time, so that should help cut down on some of that overtime, because if you look at that overtime, boy, it really eats it up.
Is that because they were an officer down?
They're an officer down.
Two
Chief
officers.
usually fills in a little bit, but he had, hip surgery, and now he's going for knee surgery. So he hasn't been able to really fill in. We have to pull the other guys in, especially on the weekends, for some overtime.
I just have to comment. I mean, I had hip surgery and he recovered. Like,
I couldn't believe it.
I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just like,
I hope his knee surgery goes as well. I mean,
seriously.
Absolutely.
Yes, it's probably like being in good health and not.
Yeah. The Glen Rock Commission is continuing to meet. I think you guys are meeting, bi-monthly
Yep.
now? They're just trying to get things going till every other week, till they can get this accomplished. That's the next one is May 22nd at 6 p.m., I believe. And they're working diligently to get that back to commission so we can do some voting. April 25th, we will have a continuation meeting for the
Yeah,
commission.
April's passed.
May 22nd.
Or May 2nd. May 22nd is your Glen Rock Commission meeting, right?
No,
It's police commission,
Oh, it's the
6
police
o'clock.
commission, I have
At
Glen
6
Rock
p.m.
Commission.
The
Okay, at
next
6
night
p.m.
is 7 p.m. Glen Rock. Negotiation.
Okay, and that's April 25th, all right?
May.
23rd.
Or May 25th,
No.
May 23rd.
23rd.
23rd. They changed
dates so many times. I've got one crossed out, another one put in, that's crossed out. So we're good there. You guys did get a new copy of our financial impact for Glen Rock's proposal. Please go over that. Take some time to go over that. It's very, very important. Andy, I know you and I have seen it. We've gone over it. It's going to be imperative that you understand this once we get to voting on what the commission.
I think primarily though, what we're gonna do is like whenever everyone gets done negotiating and Erica can come back and say, this is what the Waste Commission approved, we'll probably use that, plug in the numbers and see what the impact was, so.
See where we are, but take some time to go over that. As I said, it's really important. You got the minutes, they're self-explanatory. I do have to bring up EMS, we're having a major problem. We've got an ambulance that's out of service. It's been out of service for almost a month. They're debating on whether they can just take the body and put it on a new frame and engine, or whether they're gonna have to buy a new one. But we have really missed a lot of calls in the last month or so. I could show you the report, but I don't like to do because of HIPAA.
What's the cost on a new ambulance? 1 point what?
I
Don't know.
don't know. Not as much as a tower truck.
Yeah.
But they're trying to work things out. The problem is they're still running short on funds, they're running short on people. They're having a little bit of a problem with employees showing up late for work, and they don't even have enough to be able to set up disciplinary action to let somebody go, because if they let somebody go, it's worse than somebody showing up late. But they're working on new bylaws. That's EMS. Fire's doing great. Those guys are really on top of things. I know there is a CPR, AED training coming up. I think it's all filled. We're going to try to continue doing that throughout the year for members of the community. I know your people, Andrew, all got CPR, but are they trained in AED?
Yes.
They are, okay. And you did order the AEDs, correct?
Yes.
That was 2?
3.
3, okay, I thought it was 3. And when do we expect them to come in?
I think they were over 8 weeks out when we ordered them.
It was Stryker?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let me know when they come in, because then I think that's a great thing. One will go at the community center, one down here, and where's the other one going? Oh, the treatment plant, yeah. Because you never know. We've had some close calls already. I have a question. One question to wait. Oh, pickleball. We've got to do something about a cleaning schedule. I don't,
That's, why don't you wait till we get to the rec?
want to wait till for rec? Okay.
Engineering report?
You're gonna appoint somebody to go to a meeting?
For the second person?
That's what I said to do.
Okay, guys, here's where we're at. We have a Glen Rock team negotiation, and we have 4 people on it. We actually have 2 from Glen Rock, and 1 from each of the other municipalities. Sorry?
3.
Yeah, 3, yeah, if they all showed up, there'd be 3. I mean, I hesitate to try to have people brought up to speed to jump into this whenever really what we need to get done is for the thing to move forward and them to, so.
More people.
I don't mind going, I mean, we don't have somebody to go along.
Well, I mean, I'll promise you this, I'll be there. But they wanted somebody not on the police commission and not an alderman. So,
I don't know if it's open.
what?
I don't know if it's open, that meeting will be open. I
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Is that, I guess that's a meeting, they can close that meeting?
It's a
What's that?
negotiation, I guess they
It's
probably.
negotiation, it's less than a quorum, it's a lot of different things.
Glen Rock won't be there.
Well,
Yeah,
what's
it's
the
closed.
sense,
Yeah, it's
if
closed
Glen Rock
meeting
won't
for
be
now.
there,
Yeah.
what's the sense of meeting if Glen Rock's not gonna be there?
Well, because I think they're gonna take their input and try to come back with an answer to, that's,
Tentatively, it'll be, June 6th, possibly.
do I have anyone who wants to get involved at this late date? All right. Then I move that we appoint Dave to be the second for the Glen Rock negotiation. And
June
please
6th.
keep in mind that it's paramount, I think, that we get this thing pushed through to where we at least have something that they've told us. And then we can, the commission can then look at it and determine if it's a good fit or if they need to go back to them and ask for something else. But it needs to progress. We can't take, 6 months to figure out.
Do they,
Sorry, need a vote. All right, your point.
Welcome, Dave, welcome.
When,
You mind?
June 6th at when?
So it's on the 6th,
7 p.m. Shrewsbury Borough.
and you think it's gonna be
Changes.
closed?
I would think so.
do they, do they actually have anything from Glen Rock saying, here's what Glen Rock proposes, wants,